Ready, we'll start. Yes, please. I'm going to start the Tuesday, July 6th meeting for the Single Family Design Board. And Gloria, will you start with a roll call?
Bernstein? Here. Carroll? Here. Brian Miller?
Here.
James Zimmerman? Absent or late? Woolery is absent. Deisler?
Here.
Zink?
Here. Thank you. We're going to move on to item A, which is public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board for an item that's not on the agenda is welcome to speak. Seeing nobody, I will close public comment and move to the approval of the minutes for the previous meeting, which was June 21st. Do I have a first and a second for that?
I'll make that one.
First by Bernie.
Second.
Second by Glenn. We'll cruise through there. Are there any comments before item 1? And then just going through with comments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, item 6, item 7, and item 8. And that is all. So no comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion of the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? How about one absence or one abstain for Zimmerman, and Mr. Miller might want to abstain as well since you weren't here. So 2 abstains. Great. So moving on to the consent calendar for June 28th.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. For consent, last week we had item A, 17 Via Alicia, got a preliminary approval with conditions. Item B, 305 Sherman Road, got a final approval with condition. And item C, 945 Coyote Road was continued 1 week. Consent last week was reviewed by Glenn Deisler and Aaron Carroll.
Okay, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent calendar for June 28th. First by Aaron, second by Bernie. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Abstain.
I
abstain.
Abstain, Mr. Miller and Mr. Zimmerman. All right. On to July 6th.
All right, consent for today, July 6th, we had item A, 945 Coyote Road, got final approval with a condition. Item B, 938 Roble Lane, got final approval as noted. And item C, 282 Loma Media Road was postponed 1 week. And consent today was reviewed by Glenn Deisler.
Thank you. Do we have a first and a second? How about first by Bernie this time and second by Aaron? All right, willing spirits. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And since this was today, you guys can be part of it.
Okay.
All right. So, it's unanimous. Moving on to item D, which is announcements.
The only announcement I have is that Denise Woolery will be absent.
What about item 8? Is there an announcement for item 8?
Oh, that's right. The last item on our agenda, item 8, 1233 Mission Ridge Road. I got a call this afternoon from the applicant, and they requested to be postponed 2 weeks.
2
so
weeks.
we can reschedule that for 2 weeks from now, Monday, July 19th.
Okay. And then this would be the time if you want to make an announcement for item 7. And let's actually get you hooked up. You want to say that you're going to step down on item 7?
All right.
Not to put words in your mouth. Actually, this would be a good time. I'm sorry. Let's see.
We should announce we have 2 new board members, Jim Zimmerman and Brian Miller.
Okay. Thank you. Brian Miller and Jim Zimmerman. Thank you. And you want to put your microphone on so they can hear you in TV land? And Mr. Zimmerman has a project for item 7, so he'll be stepping down for that item. under announcements.
Mr. Chair, I also have another announcement from staff.
Okay.
My name's Heather Baker. I'm with the Design Review Design Review and Historic Preservation section. And I just wanted to follow up on the training that we had with you a couple weeks ago on the trees. It was American Planning Association lecture, and we had a short discussion afterwards. And the reason why I'm following up is we ended up showing the video or parts of the presentation to the Architectural Board of Review as well. And Tim Downey from the Parks Department, who's in charge of the tree maintenance in the city, was able to attend. And so he had some important information for the Architectural Board of Review that I wanted to share with the Single Family Design Board as well. Basically just 4 quick points. The first was that Mr. Downey offered to review any arborist reports that the Single Family Design Board felt they would like as another opinion on, and staff will do our best to route those reports to him ahead of time, the ones that seem to be very important for trees that are maybe on the that are proposed for preservation, but that there's construction nearby or so forth. So we'll try to get those routed ahead of time. If for some reason we haven't routed it and you don't have an email recommendation from him, that's the format he was proposing. He would give a recommendation in his email to you. Then we can make sure to get that routed. Just go ahead and ask staff to do that for future. And then also, Mr. Downey was recommending that anytime there's construction proposed within the drip line of a tree canopy, that would be a good time to require an applicant to provide an arborist report. That was when he was saying that research into the critical root zone and how that would be affected by the development would be, that would be the appropriate time, is whenever a development encroaches within a drip line. And then the third thing was that the presentation, as you know, we had technical difficulty. I wasn't able to get into the American Planning Association website that day, so we only had the PowerPoint. But later in the audio, I learned that the point they were getting across about tree root systems was not that they're like mirrored with, the way that the tree shape is, that the roots would be the same. Rather, what the point of all those images was that those are a myth, that's not the way that the roots typically tend to extend for trees, and that actually they run along the surface of the ground, and that's where the most critical root structures are, and they can be affected by construction quite easily because they run within the first 3 feet of the surface of the ground. So I wanted to just pass that on because I had misinterpreted the PowerPoint when I was here previously. So there was quite a bit of discussion about that at the Architectural Board of Review as well, as you might recall, Mr. Zink. And then the last item was just that there was a technology shown in the PowerPoint that showed that you could vacuum dirt from around trees in order to protect it. I asked Mr. Downey about that, and he said that would actually count as hand excavation if someone were to propose that technology as part of a tree preservation methodology, even though it is actually mechanical, because it wouldn't ruin the root structure the way that a mechanical backhoe would, that would count. So I don't know how commonly that's used in Santa Barbara, but I just wanted to pass that on as well. So.
Thank you very much. Great.
Could I comment on Mission Ridge Road?
Not.
They're continued, right?
Oh yeah.
I went up, and it was very difficult to try to find where it was.
Correct.
And so I went on Google, and it's actually on Green Ridge Lane.
Actually, let's put that right up here. This was a test for all of you newbies. It really isn't a project. No, I'm just making all that up. It's a real project. Mission Ridge Road is over here, and the subject parcel is actually off of a little flag street called Green Hills, or
Green Ridge.
Green Ridge Lane, and it was at the end of that cul-de-sac. And this is a subject parcel, and I asked the board members to go visit that, and you passed the test.
So shouldn't that be mentioned as part of the Mission Ridge Road address?
How about that,
Because if
staff?
someone went up there, they wouldn't be able to find it.
I don't know if there is any Green Ridge Lane addresses. I mean, the legal address is 1233 Mission Ridge. At Green Ridge Lane, it's a little private street there. So we just...
Is there a way underneath it to put in parentheses access off, or is that getting too complicated?
I think that's getting too complicated.
Okay.
But the neighbors were notified by a mailing,
Yeah.
and so they're aware of it as well.
Okay.
Congratulations. Any other announcements by the committee members? Oops.
While we're talking about this, the yellow signs are very important for the public to be able to see, and there's a project on our agenda today, and it's on Shoreline, and there's a wall, and then the sign is behind, on their lawn, but, you know, they're complying, but we have to figure out how are we going to get people to be able to see a sign when it's behind a wall, or should they put it in front of the wall? Because that was, you know, anybody driving by would not have seen it.
Okay. Well, that would be recommended to make the signs noticeable, and that's something.
Maybe we should add something somewhere on some text that they've got to be visible from the street.
We give applicants, well, they have to fill out an affidavit. They sign an affidavit saying they'll put the sign up 10 days prior to the meeting, and it gives you instructions on where to locate the sign. I don't have that, but I don't know how exactly that's worded, but it should explain pretty clearly that it needs to be visible from somebody on the right of way. They can just see it right there without going into the property.
Okay.
Maybe we could
It says something like that.
onto another meeting or something. And also another thing about the trees. Remember at the last meeting we were trying to look at the Meigs Road and the eucalyptus trees, and I think we had asked staff to follow up on that with what was happening with the eucalyptus trees there.
I think that's actually an ABR project and not part of the Single Family Design Board purview, but did we ask you to do anything for that project? Kind of right where the bend is, where Washington School is, by Lighthouse Road. There's a project, it's that grove.
It's not Lighthouse, it's Shoreline, and then Meigs, that corner.
That one did come to you once for a
Yes, it
subdivision.
did, for a
Oh,
subdivision.
So your question is you would like staff to look into what's the latest on that project?
The trees specifically, now that we have these new guidelines.
Okay.
Can you look
Okay.
into that and get
Yeah.
back to us in 2 weeks?
That project has a case planner, so I'll talk to the case planner about that.
Okay. That can get reflected in the minutes just so we don't drop the ball on that one. Thank you for bringing that up, Brittany. So with that, we'll go to subcommittee reports, which we don't have any at this point. So we'll move on to item 1, which is 1466 La Cima Road. This is a review after final, and I'll read the project description. This project was referred from consent calendar, review after final, to change enclosed deck accessory structure to an open lanai, move it westernly approximately 3 feet, enlarge the structure by 9 square feet, and enlarge the deck on top by 33 square feet. Revisions include relocating the stairs and eliminating the planter to the east side of the property, addition of trellis at the east side of the structure, and revision to landscaping. So actually, let's have this. Are you representing? Thank you.
You'll be called up for public comment. This is not your project, so you need to sit in the audience.
Oh, I was trying to see what was going on.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stand up and look up behind you if you need to.
You can go around here if you need.
You'll be called up for public comment.
Thanks, Simon.
All right. So if I have your name,
My name is Don Swan. I'm agent for
And-
the Cooks.
there you. Thank you.
I'm John Cook. I'm the owner.
Alrighty. So why don't we go through these step by step?
There's
Oops.
a couple other things, Tony. There's some photos and that list of documentation. Yeah, all those, yeah. These are basically to refresh our memories of the project that was approved, just to give you an idea.
Okay.
First one is to show that what was approved back in last year sometime.
Microphone.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry about that.
This shows you what was approved by the Design Review Board, and it shows that the reason, or what whatever reason it was because of the neighbors' visual comments about the existing as-built situation below. And one of the requirements, or what we agreed upon with the board, was the fact that we changed the stairway that was a ramp here to a stairway down on the far side, moving the deck farther back from the property and putting a recreation room down below. That was what was approved.
Okay.
Then, through the process of all that, this was then the neighbor's property became impacted by what we had done, and they proposed a sitting area below, and I'm sure you quite remember that quite well. And our main point of view was the fact that that there was a stairway put on their plan that we kept coming and saying that our stairway was refused, so we put over here, and their stairway was allowed to put back. But this was rejected by the board, and it was appealed to the city council. This is the project where they revised their project, and the stairway included, and ours remained the same because we had permit in hand. So this was approved by the city council with the stairway here. So what we're proposing is that we want to revisit our stairway coming down the same spot. Since this was a non-issue with the city, then we felt that we just want to revisit it. And what we did here is we realized that we didn't really want the room down below, so we created a lanai down below, shifted the whole deck over to where the wall was, where the stairway was coming down, increased the dimension from the property line to the edge of the deck, and by doing this we decided to put on some stone steps on the ramp so that we meet all the requirements as far as this does not require any problem because it's within 10 inches of the level of the slope.
Okay.
And then I just thought by the plan is that we would rebalance this by putting a atrium at this end and have some wisteria growing up and on the side. So then what came to mind was the fact that we didn't want this to be a sitting area over here, so we increased the deck a little bit to bring it back to 4 feet so it doesn't become a sitting area, because we were 6 feet or so or more before, and that we felt that just wanted a walkway down and around and open up this end of the area down below the deck.
Okay.
So that's basically it. Oh, and in the landscaping, John has some another thing that happens too is because on the original plan, and to create this landscape area, we had a stepped foundation area on the back home. We had a stuccoed wall along this edge here that is quite evident if we had the plan of the original. You have the original approved plan, Tony? Original approved plan? It shows a stepped foundation wall along this side. We'll be eliminating that and let it all be landscaping along with the neighbor's landscaping that exists today.
So there wouldn't be a solid line
That's great.
barrier between the two
Not
parcels.
like what we would show in a case where we would
Okay.
right now there's a large wall that the neighbor's wall is. We wouldn't have this arrangement. Ours would be the wall would not be right adjacent to that, against that wall there. There would be stepped down this property line where this wall is.
Okay. And what
So
was
trying to think of the landscape, we're trying to just leave it alone. Would just leave the existing landscaping with the what's there, plus adding some of the things that grow up on top of the atrium.
Cool. And let me just double check. That's all that you're dealing with is right here and the deck moving over into where the stairs are. That's what this revision after final is for.
And opening up underneath here.
And opening it up into a lanai from a conditioned room.
Right. We just still have putting windows on that east side, just allow some light to penetrate into the area below. Before we had windows there on the first or what is approved.
Do you have elevations of what this looks
Yes.
like?
Yes.
Let's take a look at that real fast. So these are the two new windows that you're talking about, and these are the stairs going down?
Yeah, we always already had windows on here. So that this was there's the stepped
wall before.
And we had a window on that wall anyway.
Okay.
So I split it up and put a column between.
And here you had 3 windows.
And now we're open just to...
Open air.
Right.
2 slots open air.
Right. And then we separated them and we have made these like a column effect on the end.
Okay. If we have any more questions, we'll ask you. Thank you. With that, does staff have any comments on this?
Chair, we do have some staff comments. We'd like to hear the public comment first, and then we'll summarize.
If you can open up that chair, we'll open up. Oh. All right. Public comment. And here's the chair. Actually, this public comment is going to be Scott McCloster.
Good afternoon, Master Chair, members of the board, and welcome new members of the board. My name's Scott McClosker. I'm the property owner to the east who's directly affected by this development. I'm here primarily to express concern about screening. We would like to see proper landscape screening so that we don't basically look at this. And also, we brought a little bit of a diagram here showing this is the location of the original deck that was submitted for the applicant in 2006. So this is the location and size of the deck. It somehow has gotten a lot larger. So we'd just like to request that if you are going to approve this, that the deck remain 15 feet off the property line, which is outlined in the guidelines.
Okay. Is that it?
Also, we feel that there were a number of meetings that some of you were present, some of you weren't, about these steps on the other side. We feel that the steps should stay where the board requested they be over a year ago.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
So we're going to keep this with the file?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Landscaping along the east side is what's important.
All righty. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, I will close public comment and return it back to staff.
Mr. Chair, Board, I did want to summarize, I think, some of the minutes in the history of this review. Back when this project was reviewed, there were a couple of comments given by the board, and I think circumstances have changed, and I think you'll be able to both evaluate that based on Mr. McCosker's improvement to see if this landscape buffer that was being required in 2008 is still necessary. But the board at the time said that they wanted to remove the existing ramp, in lieu of the ramp, provide a stairway outside the setback area and adjacent to the existing accessory structure below. Study using the abandoned ramp area as a landscape buffer, provide a revised plan which indicates landscape in that area. Now that was a request based on this conflict that we have between the property owners. Since that time, Mr. McCosker has provided an additional improvement, including steps and stairs along the property line. So it seems, I guess, from a standpoint of fairness, Mr. Cook is proposing something equivalent. So the evaluation now would be, is that landscape buffer still necessary within that rampway location? And then secondly, staff has some question as to whether or not the stairway can be built above the existing rampway. It's poured concrete, and we would want to have it on grade. And when you have a deck or a step system on a concrete rampway, the 10-inch maximum might be a problem. So we'd like to make sure that the board looks at that very carefully and tries to maintain those steps on grade, that principle of allowing them to go down the hill and not be built up.
Okay.
So those are the primary issues. I'll give you the minutes, the records, if you want to have access
Okay.
to brief
We
statement.
might pass it around. And I closed public comment earlier. Were there any letters from anybody?
Yes, we did have one letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Okay. Reopen and reclose public comment. With that, I'll return it back to the board for questions of the applicant. Aaron.
Do you have the landscape plan for the neighboring property?
No, I'm sorry.
We can provide that. We'll go get that.
I had one question that I didn't quite understand. Is there a floor plan for the lower Lanai area, and how does that access work? These stairs come down. These are windows?
Yes.
So then you physically come in this direction. So this is basically solid. In the old scheme, this was one window, and this was a solid wall. In this scheme, you have two, but they're going to be windows.
Just for light.
Okay. And just so that I understand it right, this area now is currently landscape, and it's just going to blend to the natural existence.
Yes.
And just to reiterate, right now this is basically a concrete sidewalk that follows the slope of the ground, so it's classified as a ramp.
And it is also part of your foundation of the walls. So that's why it was left a ramp.
So can you respond to the comment that staff had that they're concerned that these corners, the step is going to exceed the 10 inches?
I believe it's 10 inches within the setback, correct?
Correct.
That's correct, within the setback area.
So once there's a small segment here.
So once you're not in the
What-
setback, it's not a non-issue,
Right,
correct?
because the footing in this area where there's less retaining isn't as wide, and we could step it. So with the steps will be stepped into the foundation here, but once we get out here, not knowing where the bottom of the footing is, because
Okay.
it was poured on top of the footing that was stepped, the retaining wall stepped, and then poured on the slope. So this would have to be modified, but it's all only within the setback of the 5-foot setback are we affected by
The 10-inch rule.
the
Okay.
10-inch rule. And we shall will comply with that.
Thank you. Questions from other board members?
Mr. Chair, just a question about how tall is this wall right here above grade?
John?
And it's a slight retaining wall?
Is it? Yeah.
So it's flush here and it's down 3 feet at that end?
Probably, that end is probably higher. Probably like 4 feet,
Okay.
maybe even 5 feet.
Okay.
But it's also not retaining because the slope comes down into that, doesn't it? Yeah, right.
Well,
Okay.
It's a level wall.
there's 2 by 12 at a retaining point like right here.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, is this an existing?
Yes. As built.
And what's the height of that? Is that retaining?
Yes.
Here?
Yes. There's patios up against it. So it's
So you have a solid patio?
Correct.
Up next to it?
Right.
There must be a railing around it?
Yeah, it was. Flipping this way.
There's a different picture that was better.
Right there.
There we go.
That's and this is the upper portion of it.
Oh, I see.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions, or should we go for comments? All right, comments from board members. Aaron.
I think what we have here is we've reduced the amount of landscaping by about 50% over there. There's no proposed trees on the landscape plan, and that's what I approved previously. So I can support the architecture. I can even probably support the reduced landscape along the edge, but I would like to see some trees put back per the last approved landscape plan.
Okay.
Screen trees.
And what about an actual, what about an actual fence along the property line? Any need for that, or just the landscape screening?
Probably a hedge would be adequate
Okay.
for me.
That's a comment. Thank you. Any other comments from other members? I'm actually going to, seeing the way that things transpired, myself personally, I can support the stairs at this side. I had a hard time asking this person to remove the stairs, but because of the whole situation, but now that has gone sideways, I'm all right with the stairs, but establishing some more landscaping at this point, whether it's a vine or a hedge or something along that property line, would be beneficial to both sides, and that's something that can be accommodated relatively easily and maintain the access. And then the rest of the changes, the stairs and the access, is supportable from how I see it. So I concur with Aaron on a solution along the property line with additional landscaping.
How many trees?
Let us finish first. No one has to make any more comments, just sort of say no more comments, and then we'll ask for a motion. All right. All right. Make sure you got to turn your head. There you go.
This wall here, with no landscaping in front of it now, is it possible to maybe put some planter pockets in there to take off the starkness of that wall from the neighbor side?
You have pots in your plan right there
We have
with the
a
trellis.
couple, we put in one here that fits right around the corner, yeah, right there.
Okay.
We added that for
The trellis?
the trellis.
So that's something that will climb up the wall?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And can be trained along the railing.
Aaron, can I put you on the spot to formulate a motion for this? And then to say whether it could, approved as commented or send it back to consent for additional stuff, because staff can just make sure that the next round of drawings reflects what we say today, if that would be sufficient.
Can we make a preliminary for the architecture and then continue for the landscape?
This is a review after final.
Oh.
So they already have gotten everything blessed and approved, so it's really final. It would be final with the following comments.
Or it could go to consent to be viewed by a landscape.
Correct. If it needs to be more than that. So it could be returned to consent with the following comments.
Yeah, I'd like to return this to consent.
Okay.
Following comments. Provide screen trees as per the previously approved landscape plan. Provide a hedge along the property line. Provide, and I think that's...
You want to indicate what the planting is for this planter? Or is it already? It already has. Okay, thanks. I missed it.
Now the vine there that's proposed is not going to grow along this wall. It will climb up on the trellis.
Yeah.
If that's something that the board wants to see, you might want to see another creeping fig or something in this
Creeping
planter.
fig would be fine.
Or Boston ivy or something that will attach itself to that wall. So that could be in the motion as well. Provide a attaching vine to the wall along the stairs. And the architecture, I didn't hear any comments on that.
No comments.
That's supportable as submitted.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I could second that motion.
Thank you.
However, there was some controversy on this project about what the hedge was going to be in one of our hearings, so maybe Aaron could add into the motion suggested hedge type.
The neighbors have bamboo. I would suggest something besides bamboo. I think it should be more solid, evergreen, and I'll leave it at that. My forum gets a disease. You have cotoneaster on the plan.
Yeah.
You didn't specify the type of cotoneaster, so if you specify that as a hedge,
And that was the previous one.
ligustrum you had previously, that could work.
Okay.
So I'd look at your old landscape plan. Okay.
Okay. So we have a first and a second with some discussion. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Return back to consent.
Thank you very much.
Sure. We need to save all these. They will save them for us. There we go. We're going to move on to item 2, which is 226 Eucalyptus Hill Road. Drive, I'm sorry. This is our third review.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, thank you. Actually, we have minutes from the previous meeting, so I will have the Vice Chair read those. Right here. Oops.
So, Mr. Chair, these are the comments from the previous meeting. Number 1, show permeable and asphalt paving on the plans. Number 2, show landscaping of the ditch and landscaping on the green roof of the garage. Number 3, integrate gutters and downspouts to be compatible. Number 4, show oak tree replacement on landscape plans. Number 5, study an alternative color for the concrete and provide a sample. Number 6, show compliance with the City Council Resolution number 09099. And number 7, the straw vote indicated that the architecture is ready for approval.
Okay. Let me turn that microphone on. Thank you. Your name for the record.
Greg Griffin from Sheehan and Donaldson Architects.
Okay, great.
Derek Eichelberger from Arcadia Studio.
Okay.
And just to mention for the board, we also have our civil engineer here today in case there's any detailed questions.
Okay.
And with that, I'd actually like to start with the civil from previous meetings. Since our last visit, we've had a couple of developments in terms of the civil design that has, in our opinion, significantly reduced the visual impacts, especially across Woodland Drive. And I know that's been a concern of the board and neighbors for that matter. If we turn to the last sheet in the drawings, there's two things really that we'll mention. The on-site stormwater management has been changed from a at-grade retention-based system to a underground detention-based system. There's 3 areas. One here, there's one here at the guest house, and then there's another here under the fire department turnaround. We have met with Mark Wild and Kathy and have gotten positive feedback on this system. And it may even turn into a hybrid retention/detention system. The ratio of that is to be determined still once we get into construction documents. The other point I'll mention in terms of the civil design is the drainage structures across the Woodland Drive easement that daylight onto Woodland Drive cul-de-sac. Those that have seen this project before will remember that we used to have a 4-foot wide concrete swale across this property, in addition to a 15-inch diameter pipe, both of which were going to come together somehow near the cul-de-sac and daylight onto the street there. Both of those have been eliminated. The detention system that's being proposed on site is going to be sized to handle a 100-year storm event. That's what allowed us to get rid of the overland swale. And because we're detaining water on site and allowing it to shed to Woodland Drive at a much slower velocity, the pipe size has come down by from 15-inch to 8-inch. That underground 8-inch pipe will transition to a manifold and daylight onto the street via a public works standard detail, which is here on the drawing.
So like three pipes through the curb?
Yeah, basically in the end, that's what you're going to see is 3 core holes through the curb face.
And this 8-inch diameter pipe is completely below grade?
Completely below grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So none of the infrastructure that was once proposed to get water from here to here is now at or above grade.
Okay. That was good. Do you want to go over gutters, downspouts, and show how that is being addressed into your system? Is there...
Well, actually, if you don't mind, since landscape was addressing some of these prior issues, I'd like Derek to talk a little bit in terms of Woodland Drive.
Want me to start with Woodland? One of the requests last time was to show what's happening over the trenching that's taking place on Woodland Drive, so you can see where the properties abut. So what I did is I took some photos for you guys to see what's existing there now, and then what our proposal is for those areas. You can see this stretch here is represented by A and B, A looking this way, B looking this way. You can see there's just kind of dirt in that area right now. In this stretch, we're just going to put Diamondia back on top of the ground, which is just a flat ground cover. We won't be... The only thing we'd be possibly taking out are a couple of very small citrus trees, you can see there, and we wouldn't be impacting the hedge along the side of the property at all. At this corner, there's a stand of this here.
Sorry?
Turn the microphone.
Yeah, we need it. There you go.
At this corner, there's a stand of the sumac, which you see right there, the Milosma, I guess they call it now. And we'll just be replacing whatever's removed there. Along this longer section, there's a long pittosporum hedge. The pipe would be running, the trench would be running pretty much at the outside edge of that, with the brush indicated right there. Any pittosporums that are removed will be replaced, but by and large, we won't be impacting that at all.
We still can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is very important to we own the property.
No, focus on me and speak closer to the microphone, and then just reiterate this portion.
All right,
closer to the mic.
As you know, there's an existing pittosporum hedge that runs between the two parcels, and the work would be done at the edge of the pittosporum hedge or just under the overhanging branches along the edge of the woodland property. So any pittosporum that are impacted would be replaced, but most of the branching of this hedge, sir, is actually closer to the property line, and with the exception of this section right here where there's maybe some zigzagging. So in that case, we'd be replacing whatever we impinged upon in that area.
So this is kind of like the restoration landscape plan, but you're not specific on the sizes of these or the quantities?
Yes, right here.
So where's the word pittosporum with 5-gallon plants? Okay.
All right.
Removed or destroyed. Thank you.
And then as far as the upper site, I think the only thing we were doing on this particular plan was showing where we were doing some permeable paving. We changed this decomposed granite path here to, I take it back. This stretch here we're doing is permeable now. And then this little walking path along here we're doing is permeable. And then from where the grading takes place and this starts heading south, this would just be an asphalt path. That's indicated in the comments.
And then the landscaping of the green roof of the garage?
That's been indicated, and then we've also delineated that there'd be a 5-foot minimum edge between the pave and the parapet, and then we've also called out specifically what types of materials would be incorporated in there. And we also have a plan. We've adjusted our Our mitigation plan to show the 70 one-gallon oak trees that will be added as mitigation, and they're represented by this symbol right here, so you can see them mostly on the lower portion of the site.
Does there need to be a temporary irrigation system for that?
There could be. It could be something that's...
How do you? I mean, is there? Is there not? Or is there need? Does there need to be one?
That we could add that as part of the. What we have shown is an irrigation plan for the upper portion of this site, which indicates all the zones, and we've got our main line being routed here. We could easily after we. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just going through all these different lists. Back to architecture.
So you did mention the gutters and downspouts. The drainage plan at this point is showing area collection points for all of the hardscape surfaces.
Okay.
The actual point of connections for downspouts are not yet coordinated between us and the civil engineer.
Do you have them shown the elevations at least?
Yeah, all the downspouts,
the
meter boxes and gutters are shown on the elevations. Per Mr. Mahan's suggestion, we did clarify the roof edge in these elevations, picking up on the gutter profile that we showed last time.
Okay. Alternate color for the concrete, provide a sample. This is the front elevation?
Yeah, street elevation there.
All right, so that's this wall here?
We didn't mention this, but this wall has since gone to a green type wall, planted.
Landscaped wall?
Yes, landscape wall.
So where was the concrete again?
So this is basically, this little plinth is all that we really see on the front elevations, but it's a little more prominent on a couple of the side elevations and the downhill elevation around the pool terraces.
Which would be these.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you can go through the driveway one more time, show permeable and asphalt paving. Is what he said completely accurate, or is there any more information that you want to talk about?
What he said is accurate. Yeah, the primary driveway is asphalt. I mean, the road down to the lower lot is asphalt. The main driveway is chip seal.
Okay. Is that permeable? The first portion of it?
Chip seal? I don't think that's technically permeable.
Okay. Alrighty.
In terms of architecture, Kathy also asked us to mention a couple of things that changed since concept. One is the pool terrace. Sorry, kind of blanked out there. In concept, we had the pool terrace up at the same level as the main living level. It was up here at this main level and kind of stretched itself out to about here. And the pool and pool decks now step down about 4 feet and kind of come off to the side here just as a way of helping the outdoor spaces step down the hillside in a similar manner as the main building.
Okay.
And then I also want to mention, last time we met, we were hopeful with building department that we were going to get our Ipe siding approved, not only as a wood siding, but for our under eaves, and that has not happened. So the wood siding has gone to a stained redwood, which is part of a state fire marshal's approved list. That would be all the siding, like on that upper pavilion, for example. And the under eaves are plaster, which is that color there. So we had some wood siding up here on this second story.
Over here as well?
As well as that, yeah.
Okay. And now it's redwood?
Yeah. Stained, this is actually the stained sample, very, very similar to the Ipe color that we had.
Great. Anything else to go over?
No.
With that, I will open up or first, does staff have anything? Maybe not. We'll open up public comment, and then we'll go back to staff. I have one speaker slip, Tony Vascello. If you want to come on up here. Can you have that seat, actually? I'm more used to having people sit there. Out of habit. Thank you.
I'm Tony Vassallo. My wife and I own 850 Woodland, next door to 860 Woodland, where the drainage pipe is planned to exit out onto Woodland Drive. We just got the notice on July 1st. It was in our mailbox, and I didn't have a chance since then to try to contact Mark Wild and go over the drainage changes because of the holiday weekend and so forth. So any information that you could supply and enter into the record regarding the changes of the drainage down the hill and onto Woodland, especially vis-a-vis what's going on with 860 Woodland, would be appreciated, because that was the main question I raised at the last time you met on the plan. It sounds good. It sounds like a number of changes have been made to the drainage plan, but I'm still wondering, is the project still been divided into phases, I presume? This is only one house and one guest house, is that it?
We'll ask that question later.
Well,
I'll get you an answer.
My understanding from the last meeting was that the project was divided and phased. And then my question was, how do you do the drainage plan? Because it was a complicated, interrelated, complex drainage system that was integrated for the whole project.
Okay.
And if you divide it into phases, how do you divide up the drainage, and how does that work?
We'll get an answer for you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public speakers for this item? Seeing nobody, does the staff have any letters? And then...
Yes, we got one letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Thank you. Does staff have any comments?
Just a brief comment. You have the conditions of approval. That's my copy there. And you'll see number 5 is the drainage system. And in regard to what Mr. Vassallo was talking about, they were required to screen that. But now that the drainage pipe is all underground, there's no overland swale anymore, that really doesn't apply. There's nothing to be screened. It's all underground. It'll just daylight out the curb to the street.
Thank you. So we'll turn it back to the board for questions of the applicant. And if you first can address the question about phasing. I know you did a couple of meetings ago, but just quickly reiterate how the project is going to be phased.
Yeah. So the current application is for all 3 buildings on the upper lot, the entirety of the road to the lower lot, and the entirety of all of the grading and drainage required for both lots. That would include the infrastructure drainage connection between the subject property and Woodland Drive, and in addition to the new catch basin and some connecting infrastructure required down on Alston.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the board for the applicant?
I was wondering on the south elevation, the expansive grass area. On the south elevation, it's going to tend to be very reflective. Have you planned on any type of glass cover or to take care of that?
We have not considered that yet, though the glass areas on the south elevation are covered by some significant overhangs. As we can see in the shadowed elevations, this is currently about an 8-foot overhang. This trellis across these 3 large openings is on the order of 17 feet. And these are recessed in that pocket by about 6 feet.
Bernie?
Yeah, I guess I
I do have some questions because, from my understanding, this project was approved in 2007 before even we were around with our guidelines. And so now it's coming to us. We're being asked to pretty much take it as is, even though it would not conform to a lot of our guidelines today. There's excessive grading. I have concerns about the compatibility to the neighborhood. We don't have 20 closest homes. I'm trying to figure out how is this compatible with the neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
How is it compatible with the neighborhood?
Sure. We did actually, as part of our concept review, submit the 20 closest homes analysis. And
I'll actually interject a little bit in the sense that this is the third time we've already seen it. We've kind of already had that discussion in the sense that the project has gone through a lot of loops and it came to us midstream. And we straw voted last time that the architecture was ready for preliminary approval and the design and everything. It was just more of these landscaping and grading and drainage issues that we had that we wanted them to clean up before we could give it preliminary approval.
Well, I'd still like to hear an answer
Okay.
because it might, maybe I could understand it better.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure. Like I was saying, we did submit the 20 closest homes analysis during concept review. And out of the 20, if I remember correctly, we were at about the 7th or 8th spot. So by no means were we the largest proposal in terms of floor area by lot size. From the street face, it does present itself as a predominantly one-story building. There's a very small two-story component that faces the street. And the entirety of the downhill elevation is very, very well screened from nearby neighbors and Alston Road, the next closest public street, by an existing eucalyptus grove. So it has a very minimal visual impact.
Okay.
Question.
Mr. Miller.
There, is that represent this material here?
Yes. We shared this last time. This is the brick veneer that's proposed for the majority of the exterior walls.
Okay. And the landscaping in front of the brick walls?
That came up last time. If you're talking about the front elevation, there were recommendations to add fines to it, and we talked about the fact that we wanted it to read as a sort of an architectural element, and you'll see what we did do is add a small sort of like a maple-sized tree in front of there to offer a little bit of screening, but the understory would probably be 3 to 4 feet. We really want to express the architecture in that spot, and there is a hedge along the street, so it's not right in your face.
Can you go to that landscape plan real
Yep.
fast? Or which sheet is it?
Second or third page. This was the area in question, and there's a hedge here, there's Oak Grove starting right here, and then we added this small tree, which is yet to be identified, but it would be something like a Japanese maple or a crepe myrtle, or something in the order of 15 to 20 feet.
That's a hedge in the front.
That's a hedge in the front, 5 to 6 feet. And then there is some screening coming along at this corner.
I have a question for staff, actually. Is it written in all of these approval documents about the phasing in which the applicant said that 100% of the grading and 100% of the drainage was going to be put in as part of Phase 1 in addition to a couple of these buildings?
It's not in the any documents, but that's our direction to them to do it that way, that we wanted all the drainage done up front and not split that out. That needs
So
to be
if we
done.
give him preliminary approval with the condition that reiterate just what he said or stated that he was going to do, that can be worked into some document so it is fulfilled?
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine.
Mr. Chair?
Bernie.
Question for staff also. Thank you. So we keep hearing the word phasing, and we know there's going to be some other things forthcoming. Now, are they going to have to comply with the new single-family design guidelines, or are they going to be under this same plan?
Well, they need to conform to your guidelines. This project is in phases because there are two separate lots. but it was approved as at the Planning Commission and City Council as it's shown here, basically, and they're just making some minor changes to the architecture on the main home. Basically, the second home on the upper lot and the two homes below are substantially what the City Council approved. So that's basically what you're going to be looking at, the details of that. And
So there's going to be 2 more projects coming that are already approved?
all right, all the homes, they had to get permits for performance standard permits for the extra homes, each extra home on each lot. So they're allowed to have 4 homes in this project site.
And can you explain what you mean by performance standards?
That was one of the applications to the Planning Commission. Actually, a staff hearing officer, then Planning Commission, then City Council. One of their applications that was approved.
So
it's a certain permit that allows a second house on a single-family lot.
So just to follow up on Bernie's question, the other structures that are on the second lot, have they already been designed and basically the overall envelope and the shape of it has been blessed by City Council, or had they been blessed as just footprints?
No, overall, they looked at the architecture of all the buildings on site
Did that
already.
answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So let's move on to comments and then a motion if someone's ready.
Mr. Chair, I was going to get a question, but I'll get it in a comment. My comment is concerning the permeability of the paving. It's one of the conditions of approval from the Planning Commission. And it says to maximize, or what are the technical words?
Utilize where possible to reduce.
So I'm questioning, do we have any permeable paving? And then also the question has to do with some of the deck areas. Are they permeable as well? Can we get permeable paving anywhere?
Well, just to recap on what is permeable and not permeable, we have some gravel walkways up here at the top of the site that are gravel that would qualify as permeable. As we get down here to the lower portions of the site, we are switching back to DG, with compacted with a stabilizer because of the steepness of some of those particular walkways. This main driveway and the front 60 feet or so of this driveway is chip seal, and then we changed to a standard asphalt. We have double checked with the fire department, and we cannot use permeable paving for their fire truck loads. It doesn't hold up to their loading requirements. Beyond that, a lot of this outdoor patio space in this area is over living space and or mechanical space, so that it's not doable there.
We haven't specified it, but this whole entry design could be permeable. That we could do.
Well, at this point, 100% of your non-permeable area has been calculated, and the runoff has been addressed by your 3 below-grade cistern system.
Yeah, the hydrology calcs actually consider all of the hardscape surfaces as being non-permeable.
Okay. Any other questions? Actually, let's go to comments for the applicant. My comment is this, at this point the project is ready for preliminary approval, but I would just say a couple of tags on would be a CYA statement about the phasing, and then temporary irrigation is what I see is missing, and then a little stronger notes on the landscaping plan for the easement area that says it's going to be returned or restored. I kind of read the fine print, but I was looking at it. It doesn't look clean enough to me as I look at your landscape plan. It just was like I can't tell what's being done and what's not being done. It'll just be replaced as needed, and if it could just be a bolder statement saying that when we're all done, it's going to look great, and this is why it's going to look great, and spell out the reasons.
Okay.
So. And I don't have a concern with the grading because the hydrology calcs will address all of that, and you now have permeable areas below grade. So the project is moving in the right direction for me, so I'm comfortable with it. So those were my tags that I would like to add for preliminary approval. Comments from other board members?
only thing I say is it's pretty much been approved as is. I mean, it's already gone through everything, so
Very observant.
But Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just, okay, so it's, in our lap now with, all having been approved in 2007, but we weren't here then, and what if we don't think that it follows neighborhood compatibility guidelines? What happens then?
I have to fall back to the legalness of it went all the way up to the city council level, and basically the project was approved at that point, and now we are just polishing the apple. And the size of the house and all these things have already been vetted at a different hearing at a different location, and that's my response.
Mr. Chair, can I tag on to that? This situation actually occurs with me a lot, actually. A project may come through, and for whatever reason, I may be against the project, and it gets preliminary approval, and it gets forwarded to consent calendar, and I'm sitting at the consent calendar knowing I didn't approve the project. I have to now take that hat off and look at it as an approved project. There's nothing I can do about it. And I just have to do the best I can with that project.
do you have a sample of the roofing? Or is that
We do actually.
Can I make a comment? This project was reviewed by, I believe the ABR, because you weren't in existence at that time. So this was given positive comments from the ABR earlier, and then sent on to staff hearing officer and so forth.
Okay. So if there's no other discussion, I'll float a motion, and if it's acceptable, someone will first it and second it. And the motion is for preliminary approval with returning to full board with construction drawings are in progress review with the following comments. One is that the drawings should state the phasing nature of this project. And second one is to provide additional landscape information for the drainage easement along the woodland hills. The third is to provide notes about temporary irrigation for the 70 oak trees.
Okay.
And that's all that I had. So that's a floated motion.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Glenn. Is there someone? Oh, you have to first it actually.
I'll first the motion.
So we need someone to second the motion, giving this preliminary approval.
Should I dare second it?
Yes, that's fine. All right, second by Mr. Miller. Under discussion.
Mr. Chair, may we add some language in there to have them try to include permeable areas within the landscape, just to define that a little bit more?
You made the motion, so yes, you
That's
can.
what I would like to include.
How about study ways of increasing the permeable paving wherever possible?
I actually do have a comment about that, and it might help. And I ran into this issue before.
Is your mic on?
It has to do with the expansive rate of the soil, and I don't know what the rating was on the soil, because I know that if it's a high expansive soil, they don't like it to be permeable. They actually want you to remove the water from the site. So I don't know if that was an issue on this property or not.
They'll come back with an answer.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussions for this item?
So that's a roofing material?
Yes.
Is that?
What material is it? Just
It's metal painted. This is their weathered copper simulation. Yeah.
Are you using the wide bat? You know, I think that's something, the wider the bat, the more texture the roof gets. That's something maybe we can get into.
Yeah, we're happy to show that in some detail.
how about the next time? Just
Sure.
remember on your own. It's just additional information. He won't forget. Mr. Zimmerman won't forget. So with that, I'll call for a vote if there's no other discussion items. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That's fine. You
And
want
I'd just like to state, I'm glad I don't have to make or break it, but I don't want to be a rubber stamp for projects that come to us by surprise and, be expected to just cruise right through.
Okay.
And I don't feel that today, I don't feel it would be approvable.
Okay. And do you want to state the NPO findings?
NPO findings for neighborhood compatibility. Both mapping scales, relatively low-slung, two-story natural materials, and well landscaped. And the underground drainage, I think, is a huge improvement.
Here, here. So with that, I will announce a 10-day appeal period for this project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This all goes that way. So we're going to move on to item 3. Item 3 is 819 Roberto Avenue. We're running 10 minutes late. Apologize, but that happens sometimes. This is our third review, so we'll just go straight to the minutes of the previous meeting. Hello, hello. Yes, will you please read the minutes from the previous meeting?
Comments from the previous meeting. Number 1, the applicant's consideration of design guidelines is appreciated. Number 2, study the further reduction and simplification of the mass. Number 3, simplify the roof plan. Number 4, revise the entry to be street friendly. Number 5, provide a preliminary landscape plan showing permeable paving and include trees. Number 6, restudy the shingle chimney material.
All right. Do you have 3 sets of drawings?
Yes.
Great. Guilty.
1, 2, and 3 here.
They'll unroll them. The other one?
There's 2 there.
Great. Your name for the record?
Christine Daniel, designer.
Okay. Are these new updated numbers from the last time?
The numbers, yes.
these,
The numbers have not changed from the last time.
Okay. So we'll just put this to the side.
Shall I start?
You may.
Okay. So the first thing I'd like to address is the, the roofing structure at the front of the house, the south elevation. We've eliminated the covered roof here at the porch on the living room, and instead we put an open trellis. We've also eliminated the gable roof at the porch, the front porch, and put a little hip roof here with, I think, a gentler street entry, which was one comment.
Can we look at these two from the side elevation?
Yes.
It's not this side, it'd be the next
That's the
street
back.
over. So this is the front trellis.
Yeah,
about
that's the
6
front
feet-ish,
trellis. It's 7
and
feet.
That is.
And that comes out, I believe, like 12 feet.
Okay. And the arch is at that point.
The arch is in that. And then we have, I've included a roof plan. So we've reduced sort of the mass. On this side, we've simplified the roof here and lowered our plate lines as well.
To 7
To
feet.
7 feet. This one's 6 feet here, so that's been reduced, and we've brought the existing garage roof sort of back because this is kind of an overhang here. This is set back from this.
Okay.
And what else? We have changed the chimney material to a stone, a stacked stone veneer. And we have provided a landscape plan.
What sheet would that be?
It's that last one here.
Okay. You quickly
And the
want to go-
hardscape also is shown on the site plan.
You want to quickly go
So,
over the
yeah.
highlights, like some big trees?
Okay. Well, the only big trees we have are existing here and here. Let's see, we have an existing, what is this, pepper tree. And actually, we're only keeping the pepper tree because there's a pole here, a high-tension pole here. And then we have this phoenix tree here. Everything else is going to be removed and planted with once established low water, drought-tolerant plants, and pretty low as not to, disrupt the view from above. We have some screening here for the neighbor's property. And this is all permeable paving here. We have turf, a portion of turf here in the front yard and in the backyard here, not to exceed 20%. And then we have existing driveway with flagstone. So all of this is flagstone pavers with decomposed granite.
Thank you. Okay. So the new trees that you're planting, because we specifically said including trees, are you planting any trees and where are
Here's
they?
some trees. I didn't do this plan, so I'm not exactly sure exactly.
And we'll let him take a look at it. Or he's reading it for you. Okay. Let's look at the roof plan.
Okay.
And then I think you did a good job.
Thank you. Here's the roof plan. So this is the one-story roof here with our front trellis. This is the entry with the covered deck above. This is the bedroom existing garage. And then we just have, a ridge here with a hip there. Or, valley.
I'll save that question for later.
What's that question? Okay.
Yeah, later. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So with that, I will...
And here,
anything
I
else?
also have a color board.
Okay.
This is the siding material. This is the roofing. It's a concrete shingle.
Okay.
And this is the trim and the chimney.
Alrighty, thank you. Ask staff for that. So with that, I will open up public comment. Thank you for the presentation. Anyone from the public? Yes, we have two. It'll be George.
Yes.
Thank you, and my spelling is bad. And Andy Galt will be second. Have a seat.
Thank you. Opposite to the project, I don't think it fits into the neighborhood. The very large project, in my opinion. Nor does it fit in the city's Spanish Mediterranean style. And thirdly, as far as I'm concerned, we'll take away my ocean view. And obviously, this project is made to increase the value of the property having ocean view. We'll take away completely my ocean view, which means that my property will lose about $100,000 of its value. So this is my opposition. This is the reason.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm just on top of this thing, so the whole thing will take away my view, my property's right to those. That's about the extent of it.
Thank you. We'll look into that.
I thank you for your attention.
Okay. Andy Galt.
I had lots of concerns the first time around, and they met all of my problems with the exception of the fact that I didn't get to see these plans. And so that's it. I guess I'm seeing them for the first time, and it looks okay to me.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Are there any other public speakers? Does staff have any letters on file for this? Oops.
Yes, somebody emailed me a letter Tony?
Yes. Yeah, we passed one letter out to you all.
I brought one for everybody.
Yeah, I actually got that through the email, and I read that one from the back fence neighbor.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you want to...
We also got a letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Okay. So we'll pass this letter for the other board members to see. So we'll close public comment, return it back to questions of the applicant from the board members.
Is this house next door?
Yes.
That's your house.
That's this one right here.
That's this one here.
I have a question. Did you
Bernie?
go around and meet with the neighbors and talk to them and try to
Yes,
show them the
the
plans?
owners did do
The
that.
owners did
Yes.
that, because I'm just wondering, when people come, like the third hearing, and it's the first, we wonder what kind of communication happens. Okay.
I know that they did meet with most of the neighbors that they could get a hold of. They did meet with the one that was above them and on both sides.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Have the current plans had any reduction in square footage
Yes, from the original proposal.
from the last presentation?
No, just the patio cover has been eliminated to open trellis.
Okay. And then the first gentleman that spoke, he was concerned about his view being completely lost. Do you have photographs sort of from your property to his property, or any photographs that could show us that?
Now, where's your home located?
La Coronilla, 1770.
We need to put it on the TV camera shot.
And that's his house, right?
So his house is right here, which
The first speaker's house is there.
is right here, the
And-
first speaker.
And then the letter that we received from the person who's not coming is this house.
That's correct.
And then this is the house that we're working on.
Subject property, right?
Subject
Right.
property.
So actually his view won't be affected tremendously because
This is
the...
the... What is the grade difference between this parcel and the upper parcels? Is there a...
It's about 10 feet.
But you don't have any photographs from up here looking across your property?
No, I don't. Looking from here, looking down at the property?
Correct. That's what
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. This is really minor just because my eyes pick up on it, and it's not going to derail your project at all. But you're commenting about your roof plan and your elevations don't match up, because you said you lowered this down to 7 feet on
Yeah.
the sides, which is fine. But then on the roof plan, it doesn't add up, which has changed something very minorly. But because this shows that they're at the same
Oh,
place.
that they're the same,
So
but that would be more like, it would be...
You'll fix it, you'll correct it, it's not going to derail you, but I had to look at the floor plan and what functions were happening at the lower plate, and I appreciate that this was lowered to whatever it was, 6-something, and this was lowered to 7, and this is at 8, so even this part has been brought down.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought, well, yeah, I can see what you're doing, so that works.
Zoning requirement for the maximum height of the building. Did you fulfill that?
The zoning was, 25 feet? We're under 25 feet. We're at 24.
24 feet. Okay. So we're questions of the applicant and then move on to comments. I'm actually, Glenn's going and then you can be next.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
The site plan is showing the first floor footprint, and there's a second floor that is partially above the garage.
Yes. And
And I'm just making sure it's behind that setback.
Yes, it's behind that setback, approximately a foot. Let's see.
Oops. So there's a setback line happening like that?
Yeah, the setback is, it's a non-conforming garage, so it's a 9'9" from the front of the garage to the setback, and we're 10 feet back.
And you're not changing the roof of the garage?
We're not changing the roof. We're just re-roofing to match the new addition roof. Yeah.
Bernie, you were next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually for the board. We appreciate you trying to work with us, and we're trying to implement our design guidelines so that we can create a balance, between neighborhoods. And in this instance, we still have, you didn't reduce the size like you did the first time, but then you didn't, so you're still at 89% of the maximum, and you're still going to be one of the biggest homes in the area for the lot size. So we as a board, we can ask for story poles in these kinds of places, because that way everybody could see how tall is it. It's almost the maximum height. It's bigger than the recommended maximum size. So I'd like to put that out there as maybe something we should seriously think about.
That's a valid comment, so let's hold on to that. Any other comments from board, and then I'll do a straw poll on story polls. Any other questions of the applicant, and then we'll ask that poll.
Just a quick question. The fence and gate in the front, do you have details for that? Or is that...
No, I don't have details for that right now. It's a wood picket fence and wood gate.
Open?
Yes.
And it's 3 foot high here. Is there something proposed for this direction? This is a 3 foot high picket fence with a gate.
There's an existing wood gate here.
And what would the height of that be?
I believe it's like 5 or 6 feet.
Okay, good, because we wouldn't want to see his stuff there. 6 foot wood. All right. The way story polls work for the board is that we have to feel like we're fairly close, that this project is going down the right direction. If we have some concerns, we can ask the applicant to put up some story polls, but we as a board have to understand that there's a financial cost to it. But if we think it would be beneficial both to us and to the neighbors in approving the project, then we can recommend story polls or just story polls of the second story mass. So have everyone sort of understand the drawings and determine if that would be beneficial for this applicant to go through. People understand the question? Any questions about story polls?
Mr. Chair, may I
Yes.
talk about one thing? This is the existing house, right?
Mm-hmm.
These grouping of trees, is that on the neighbor's property?
No, this one is in our property. This is that tree right here. This one, the phoenix. And I believe, let me see, is that the pepper tree? That's that pepper tree. And see, there's a pole behind it. So we're not attached to the pepper tree. It's just we've left it there just as there was a proposal to possibly put this pole underground. So if that's going to happen, we would remove our pepper tree.
I wanted to kind of just show it, saying that there already is some sort of large screening elements between the two properties right now, and from the street view, I don't see any ridge line or anything from the house behind it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how that house has a view, but
my comment is in other projects where we have requested story poles, we've actually had photographs from other people's property from their dining room window and from their pool patio, and this is the view and this is how it looks today, and we're able to assess how we visually think this mass is going to be in relationship to looking at photographs from up above. And those are normally brought by the rear property owners, and they're saying, here's my view and I don't want this to obstruct my view. And I haven't seen that. I am familiar with the site. I've driven by it many times, and there is a grade difference.
Yeah.
So I personally don't have a problem with a strong need for the story poles. The massing is still a little bit on the busy side, but it's just more of a simplification. It's your design style that you have, and parts of it are coming together really well, and there are other parts that are just a little bit need more massaging, but you can do that further down the road. So I don't have a sense of need for story poles, but that's my perspective. But other people can jump in.
Well, I have a hard problem based on your concerns, the views, and I need to see how the views are impacted. So I would agree with story poles would be a good idea.
And your microphone. But your point is heard by us.
Can I comment?
Let's get everyone else to formulate whether we think story poles would be necessary.
Mr. Chair, I think they'd be helpful, but maybe just the highest ridge line, not a full-on story pole mock-up.
Then I wouldn't know the view impact. That's anything.
I think we would just do the second story massing if we were to do story poles, and that would show how the impacts were.
Mr. Chair, before, and I know story poles are expensive and time-consuming and everything, I would love to see some more photographs from the rear property. That would be much easier and less expensive first.
Okay.
I agree. If we had some photographs from the backyards or from the neighbors on the higher elevation, I think it'd be a big help.
Okay.
That'd be a big help. Story poles are...
Can I make one comment about the view, the direction?
You can make a comment, and then we'll continue going.
Because this road goes up. This neighbor's higher than us by probably 4 feet. This one's a little lower. These guys are all higher. So the view is sort of this way. And this is the two-story area, and this is all remaining one story. So that was sort of an intentional thing that we did here by placing the two-story area in that two-story portion in that area.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we're not comfortable enough as a board to give this preliminary approval because we just don't want to be forcing things down people's throats in some respect. That there's a little concern by a couple board members that we want to further understand the size of this two-story structure and the impacts it has on the neighborhood. So it goes back to you and having to convince the board that what you're presenting is not going to be a significant obliteration of the neighbor's rear view. And how you go about it is your challenge. I'd recommend photographs from these back parcels. Ring their doorbell, ask if you can walk on their land and take photographs, 180 view, so we can see what their view is and imagine. We are visual enough as designers that we can imagine what your view, what your future home would be in that panoramic photo. If they refuse, then that's what you come back and say, that they wouldn't let us on your property and you couldn't take pictures. The other thing you can do is you can stand on your roof at what elevation you think your second floor is going to be and take pictures that way.
Mm-hmm.
You can stand on this level and look up to the hill, and that pepper tree you have does a lot of does an asset of screening the view. But it'd be good to see what the view is from your second floor looking that direction. And we can make an assessment on if story poles are necessary and if we feel like the size, bulk, and scale is appropriate for the neighborhood. So at this point, I don't think there's enough consensus here to give you preliminary approval. So I would say we'd make a motion for a 2-week continuance, if that would be enough for you to develop some exhibits and work with the neighbors and some photographs. And at this point, your drawings are fine if you don't plan on changing it much. If you want to further revise it, you can, but it just... At some point, you're done with the design, and let's focus on the overall shape of it, and we'll deal with all the little tiny details later. But I'll tell you, this is very cute, and this is very cute. The wider door here, I mean, it's coming together. So.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment to the board. There's a lot of discussion about private views, and the board is not, that's not part of your job to be concerned about private views.
Thank you.
Just think in terms of the NPO findings and the hillside findings. If you need the photographs and story poles for size, bulk, and scale, that's one thing.
Yeah, I think that's what we're concerned about.
Any other discussion? And if someone wants to float a motion, but what staff has to say is valid. And does everyone understand what staff was saying? Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Bernie.
May I address the applicant? Yeah, so we want to understand, and if you can show us how you did lower part of the roof so that the neighbor, we're trying to to create a really nice harmony here in the neighborhood. 'Cause all these neighbors are going to live together for a long time.
Yeah, and the owners, of course they want to be neighborly, and they've discussed it with both the neighbors and the one behind them, and so they definitely don't want something that everyone's going to oppose, and
Okay.
they have to live there. So, okay.
Yeah, I think we've reached a certain point. I think we as a board have to understand what staff is telling us, that we don't protect private views, but there is some concerns about the size of the house and how it impacts the neighborhood. And with that, we'd like some more additional information.
Okay.
Okay. So does someone want to formulate a motion?
Mr. Chair, you stated it pretty well, but I'd like to have a 2-week continuance. Is that enough time for you to... 2-week continuance for the applicant to bring in additional materials, mostly photographic or however you want to do it, that show the building in its environment of the neighborhood, and gives an opportunity for the board to review the proposed massing.
Wonderful. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second by Aaron. Any additional comments?
Mr. Chair, so when they do come back in 2 weeks with the other information, now, do we have a landscape plan, or could
Yes,
they
we
bring
do.
Okay, so do we want to look at that so that we can give them direction so that next time they come back, then they could go for final, or?
Well, they won't go for final right off the bat.
I looked at it. It looks pretty good. I guess my only comment would be to bring a irrigation plan, but I don't know if we're really ready for that quite yet.
We're working on irrigation.
Yeah,
So positive comments on the irrigation, or on the landscape, but it's not in the motion. So any other comments for the motion? Any other discussion? I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Somebody second it?
It was seconded by Aaron.
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking, both of you. Yeah. We're moving on to item 4, which is 1528 Santa Rosa Avenue. We're running 10 minutes late, and we're sorry.
Do I take this?
Let them decide. I don't do that part of the job. Ooh, can you make a copy of it and eventually bring it back to us? We can have it?
No.
I can take this set.
We have your name for the record, and then we'll read the minutes.
Ernie Fodenhauer, owner.
Thank you.
Susan Sherwin with Philston Sherwin Design Studio.
Okay, great. And we're getting the minutes. How do you pronounce your last name?
Fodenhauer.
Fodenhauer. Okay.
Mr. Chair, the comments from the previous meeting. Number 1, the proposed size is acceptable. Number 2, study the design for better integration of the building masses. Number 3, study architectural detailing for added charm and quality of neighborhood compatibility. Number 4, study reducing the garage plate height to be compatible with the house. Number 5, an uncovered parking space is supportable.
All righty. How do you want to proceed?
Okay, well, I can walk you through the changes that I've made since our last submission.
You know what? Let me back up real fast. 30 seconds for the 2 new board members what the project entails.
Okay, and I think all my existing photos got left here last time, so maybe Tony has the existing because I don't have any. But the existing house is here. What we're doing is, and there was an existing carport right here. What we're doing is eliminating that carport. We're adding additions to the house here and a 2-story addition here. And then we're building a single-car garage with an uncovered parking space, which is supportable because we're less than 85% FAR.
Okay, that was 30 seconds. You did a great job. And that's your existing. Okay. So it's your turn to start talking.
Okay, so the changes that I have made were reducing the plate height of the garage, which originally we'd had it with more like a 10-foot plate height because we really wanted to have storage in up above. Seeing that was not looked upon favorably by the board, what we've done is reduce that plate height, and then we're proposing to put in a little storage basement under this new volume of the master bedroom. So we're going to just dig down. We're going to put a little stair going down. This is already several feet lower because of the existing grade of the lot. So we're looking at doing
Would
that.
this be in your side yard setback, or that's okay?
That is, I believe it's in
Non-issue.
Yeah. Okay, so and additionally to look at just kind of starting to develop the character, we've added some stone at the base of the building, especially the new volumes, and onto the fireplace, and starting to add some other little details. And the owners started to look at pictures, and sort of these are sort of starting to be the feel of what we would like to go for in terms of stone. They've got a lot of existing sandstone on the property. We'd like to be able to tie in to that a little bit, but they don't really want big sandstone blocks. So, and I also changed this little roof, which is over just the stair hall. It used to be a sloped roof, and we're sort of adding that.
Did the board ask you to do that?
That was one of the things that was, I think, is looking at the.
It said study the massing and integrating the forms.
Right, and they didn't
Before
like
it
that
was a
roof.
shed-like
Yeah, roof.
construction.
Okay. Great. And there's your sections.
And then we moved the big window down.
Oh, right.
That was on the
missed
front
that
elevation.
Yeah. We're trying to reuse that big window, and it was, the owner originally wanted it up here, but we've kind of moved it down and tried to sort of contain it a little bit with the idea that we could grow some things on.
Thank you.
That.
Anything else?
I think that.
Okay, I'll open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing nobody, I'll go back to staff and see if there's any letters that were submitted.
Yes, we have a letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Okay. I'll close public comment and bring it back to board for questions of the applicant. If you want me to turn a page, just tell me.
Is this faces the street?
No.
How does that?
That is behind the property. It's back here. So this is actually, it was originally a very long lot, and there's actually 2 residences behind it, 2 separate parcels behind it. So this is a shared driveway that comes up and for access. So it comes off of this shared driveway.
What was the building materials of that garage?
Oh, we're going to have it match the house, so it'll be the wood siding and the...
And the siding is going to be going to a corner board, or it'll be a 45, or you don't quite know yet? It looked kind of, this looked, I was just
Yeah,
studying
it
that.
looks like it should be, the corner board is missing there. I like the corner board look, which we try to match the house as closely as
So what
possible.
kind of siding is it?
Well, there's existing siding, so, the existing house has this wood siding.
It's
and
wood
it's
siding.
Yeah, it's painted wood siding.
It might be nice to...
Well, now we're just doing questions at this point. It's okay. I had to learn the hard way, too. All righty. I guess I have one other. The plate heights here, and the two-story is an 8-foot and 8-foot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's my question. Any other questions of the applicant? Then we'll move to comments. Now you can go.
There's a lot of horizontal siding, and also on the two-story. Is this high fire?
No, it's not.
No, up on the mesa.
I'm going to get you dressed for a second.
It would be, I think it'd be nice to maybe go with shingles on the top floor, and then have a base running around to break up the two-story, and then so that garage is viewed from up above, right? From the neighbor up above.
Just the roof of it. There's actually quite a tall wall that separates the two properties. I think you can see that big wall. So this is where the new garage would be. It's kind of tucked in right here, and there's quite a large privacy wall between the two properties. That's on plan. It's right here. So I don't think they're going to be seeing much of it.
I had a question about the storage.
Yes.
Could you show that to us again? Underneath.
Well, I think the best place to see it is in section, just right in here.
So what is the height of that? Is that 6 feet?
6 feet.
Yeah, I think if it's over 5 feet, you have to include that in the square footage of the house. If it exceeds
I would
5
actually,
feet.
staff can look into it, but there's also a height between the grade and the ceiling, and this could be counted as a basement, and then it's 100% excluded, just because
Okay.
the 4.5 feet, I think, is the magic number from the ceiling to the grade.
Okay, and I think we're below that.
Yeah, and you're clearly that. We're going to comments, Sue. And your microphone's on?
Stairway here.
Yes.
I was just wondering if there's another way you can look at it, because to me it kind of protrudes out. It's this long, skinny thing that protrudes out in the back. It seems a little deceptive for me, anyway. When I look at the floor plan, it sticks out quite a bit, but yet on your roof plan, it doesn't seem to stick out quite as much. And I think so. It just seems needs a little more study in terms of the compatibility, because to me it looks a little strange, this long skinny element sticking out in the back like that, based on this floor plan.
Right. Yeah. It's.
These are just comments. You don't have to address them. I'll actually give a comment that I'm not too thrilled with the massing. I mean, having this two-story element the way it's located, and it's just plopped in here like they're just two pieces put together, and there's no integration. There's no, if this thing moved back 5 feet and you had some kind of a softer relief to the street. I know in Goleta the cheapest second-story pop-up is right on top of the garage, and when you drive by it, it looks just like that. It was the least expensive solution, where this is, not that this looks like a garage per se, but the architectural solution is a very cost-effective solution here, but it lacks some charm and character. So I'm grappling with the forms of the architecture, and I'm having difficulty with it just because of the solution that I'm looking at. And that's just my own comment.
Chair.
Aaron.
Question for staff. Does this project have to qualify under the stormwater requirements, the new added garage and parking area.
Let me look at it. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Comments from any other board member?
Mr. Chair, I too, my eye immediately goes to this element right here. I think the applicant has done a nice job since the last time to integrate some more charm and different material breakups and things like that. And the garage coming down in plate height is a really good improvement. So to me, the only really weak part of the design is this integration right here. And there's some inconsistencies between the drawings if you look at the roof plan versus the elevations. And this element really isn't thought about right that much. I think these two planes are one plane. And when you look at it, and there's also a lot of roof crickets and things that really aren't there yet. There's this roof here slopes against the wall, so you need to provide a way for the water to drain around it.
Right.
But I think there's opportunity here to integrate it better. And if you look in section, this wall is pretty high above the stairs, so there's an opportunity where you could maybe even change vertical height a little bit and break between the two planes and maybe integrate with that other roof system that needs to happen behind that addition. So, but in general, I'm in favor of the project. It's just that area right there.
It's a little hard to see that area.
It is.
It would be impossible to.
Yeah.
No one will ever be seeing it.
Except the architects driving by will go, oh!
Well, even you won't see it because you'll be driving by out here. But
Okay. Comments from any other board members? And if not, we'll just go straight to a motion.
I can try a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
All right. It is for a continuance, if you like, for 2 weeks to return here to the full board with continue to revise the roof plan and improve the integration of the stairs to the wall, and 2, continue adding the stone and detail work that we appreciate, and 3, bring us a color board and materials. Maybe you have that with you right now. Okay.
I thought that was for final.
It's not required. We can ask for it.
Okay.
If you want to not give it to us, then we can give you preliminary without it. You're withholding it for one reason or another. That's.
It's just a matter of how,
If you don't want,
Yeah,
if
we're
you're
ready
not,
to do that or
if
not,
you're not
yeah.
ready to do it, then just say you're not ready because it's
Okay.
not required. It's just suggested.
Okay.
Or we can give you more than 2 weeks if you like.
Well, let's have a first and a second, and then we'll have a discussion. Is there a second for that motion? Okay.
I apologize. Can you repeat it again? I apologize.
Gloria?
Continue 2 weeks to the full board, continue to revise the floor plan and improve the stairs to the wall.
The integration of the stairs to the wall.
Integration.
Stairs and wall.
Continue adding stone and detail work, which the board appreciates. Provide a color board and materials.
Isn't Gloria great?
Mm-hmm.
Got it all.
So that's the motion. Is there a second for that motion?
I guess I'm confused because you said you're declining the color board.
The fine print on the front sheet, the motion is the board would like to see a color board.
Right.
So in 2 weeks from now, she's going to say, sorry, I didn't have time, I didn't do it. And now she's still asking for preliminary approval. And we have to say, well, it's under suggested, and now we wiggle that around. Or you can just bring us a color board, and we don't have to go there. That's the long and short of it.
So I can second it.
Okay. Second. Under discussion. Comment I was going to make about the stonework. The photograph that you show of the stonework is of kind of a different locale than Santa Barbara, and you had okay. So if you can bring some photographs of some stonework in the area that you like that uses our coloring, our Santa Barbara sandstone, because this is not quite an ashlar veneer, but this is a very this is ledger stone, and this is almost ashlar kind of
That's
thing.
where we were actually thinking.
Okay. If you can find some pictures that look more of the coloring, unless you want to use these colors, but you were...
No, we're still struggling with the colors, to
Okay.
tell you the truth. And it sort of depends on the body of the house. And so we're trying to integrate all this.
So that's in progress, and if you're not ready yet, but the more information that you have about the stonework and the colors, the better it is when it comes time to moving forward. So that was my discussion about stonework.
Chair, just under comments, I'm not sure I can support the motion, but I was thinking that the project was far enough along that this was a pretty minor tweak as far as the connection. We know we're not going to get any higher. We know it's not going to significantly change the design. The solution would not significantly change the design. So if I got in first, I would have maybe made a motion for preliminary approval and come back. So
ask.
Well, there's a big difference there, though.
Would you be okay to modify your and then?
I would be okay with that.
And Mr. Zimmerman, would you be okay for? So, Lori, we're going to change the motion for preliminary approval, making NPO, and then let's make it an indefinite continuance.
And so, we'd like to add the neighborhood compatibility guidelines, size, bulk, scale, materials, especially materials, because we do want to look at the stone choice.
Okay. So is there any other discussion about the motion?
I heard from some members that we do have still some issues, size, bulk, and scale, but we're giving it a preliminary approval, so I'm kind of confused.
I won't be voting in favor of it because I would have come up with a different solution, and I think this is a very hard edge, and I'm not happy with its massing, but I'm just one person, and that's not going to kill the project, per se. I'm just one person. All right, there's two of you. No.
We have to vote on it.
So if there's any other discussion about the issue at hand, and we've got a motion on the floor for preliminary approval, indefinite continuance, back to full board, and asking them to study the stair resolution in the back.
And the roof crickets.
The roof crickets.
This probably isn't accurate.
Okay. So is there any other discussion?
Well, Paul, do you have anything to add to the motion?
No. So with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2 opposed. All right. I will announce a 10-day appeal period and put yourself back on the agenda when you're ready.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
To answer Aaron's question about the stormwater management program, this would be a Tier 2 project, so you need to show some sort of stormwater best management practice on the plans prior to a final approval.
Okay.
I think these were yours.
We just saved that one he has.
Okay.
We're now on to item 5, which is 1478 Lou Dillon Lane, running 5 minutes late, but that's okay. Hey, hello.
We've got the drawings this time.
You want to read the minutes from the previous meeting?
Make sure you put that. Mr. Chair, the motion from the previous meeting was to continue 2 weeks full board with the comment to restudy the design to capture the charm as presented in the conceptual sketches.
Okay, ready? I'll just.
Your names for the record.
Sorry, Josh Bloomer, AB Design Studio. I'm here with Clay Arell from AB Design Studio. I'll start with the architectural stuff here. Right off the bat, we went back and restudied the renderings, which I know everybody really likes, and the character and the charm of it, and looked at where, took an honest look at where we lost it in the elevations and the kind of configuration of some of the materials. So first of all, we did take a look at the garage and went back to the original design with the double garage doors. Here we are. So we've got that on the plans here. And actually, we maintain the character of the, we're looking at the original concept of doing something with like a little bit of ironwork and wood, and that's represented in the drawing. We also revised on the street-facing elevation. We took these two windows and went back to a rounded window, or rounded header configuration to kind of address Bill's last comment about just the kind of the playfulness of the elevation. And the other item here at the roof entry, going back to this rendering, we had this nice added roof, kind of a change in the roof slope right here at the entry on both sides, and so we've got, and that actually was something that was supposed to be carried forward and it just got missed. So we're glad that that's been changed as well. It's here, and we've done it on both sides of this this massing. And we've also we took a look at this element again, and the client thought best to go back to the mirror door design with the wood cladding. We got rid of the stone at the base, which was kind of adding to some heaviness around that, and we looked at the proportion we kind of changed the proportion up on the windows and lengthened them and put in the nice 4x4 detail around the side here. Went back to the plaster. Fundamentally, we went back and looked at some of the details on the backside. This was originally going to be clad in wood, but it just works better as a nice stone element. It's in the back, or a nice plaster element. So that's been that's kind of remaining. I think on the last go around though, I don't think we had some of the detailing here. That's not the last. That's the current one. That's current. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the anyway. We added in, I think, some more
some corbels underneath.
Yeah, I'm sorry, corbels underneath. And then
these are 4x or 6x or 8x. This looks like an 8x, and that's a 6 or 6 and 6. Okay.
The other comment I think was to address in the landscaping plan was to make sure that we had something provided for the
pots up here.
Yeah, and we go to the planting, grading, and drainage. Let's see, irrigation. So. I think it's being shown, it's been added to the irrigation line here, which is part of it. And then I think there was a question about the species in there. My landscape architect's not here, so
we can get that on final.
Okay.
Okay.
He may have that.
A dark green circle.
Here. Yeah, I'm looking for it too. I don't see it. Okay.
Could be this actually, that's in a smaller scale.
What does that say there?
Dark star, California lilac.
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay. Great.
Thank you. I think that covers it. That's pretty much the changes from last time we saw you, so keep it short. I'll leave it at that and let you guys
Thank you
take the
much.
wheel here. Thanks.
So with that, I will open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? At this point, did you fill out a little speaker slip? How about you just speak first, and then we'll have you fill out a paperwork thing.
My name's John Manning. I live about a quarter mile from the site up the hill, and I was just wondering if there's going to be a trenching required for final footprint of the house there, because there's an earthquake fault that runs through the.
Okay. I'll get you an answer. I'm not gonna. I'll get you an answer.
Okay.
Anything else?
That was my concern.
Perfect. Okay. Any other public speakers? Seeing nobody, does staff have any letters on file?
Yes, we received a letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Okay. Gloria, can you give the speaker the little form to fill out? Great.
The issue with the seismic was already part of our slope stability.
And once we have his attention, you can reiterate that for him.
I'll address this. As part of the conditions of getting this project approved, the board had already requested us to do slope stability analysis and information related to that very issue, and that's been completed and submitted to the city and approved to allow us to go forward.
Did it include trenching?
They did extensive work, soils reports and trenching, and did all the work in that area to make sure that we could actually build this house here.
And I believe the reports are on file, so if you wanted to view them, Tony could probably help you out with that. It's about that thick.
Yeah, I was going to say, to reiterate,
It's full soils analysis and slope stability, and it also talks about the fault line and location and the nature of it and the effect it has on the...
so we asked for the
on this
reports, they come
specific-
back and say they've done it. The building department reviews it, they're the ones with the, but if you have any questions, additionally, you can ask the building
We
department.
went through it on a similar property on the same street down at the end. Had a similar condition.
One thing to note, too, is it's
I think
actually,
we're
the
done with
report's
it.
actually specific to this design. It's not like a generic report, it's actually specific to the design, so, as far as I understand.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool. Other questions from the board for the applicant?
Mr. Chair, just some clarifications. There's been no change in square footage from the last design? No. Any changes in material, colors, or anything? I know that we went from plaster to the mirror door, but it's already been looked at for wood.
Other than the obvious ones, no.
Yeah, there's a color board that...
And that hasn't changed?
It's all the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The color board should be in the possession of...
Should be in the file, I think.
The file there.
I have any questions? I have a comment, and it's a really minor comment, and it's just because my eye picks up on this. This is not 100% centered. Was that intentional? Because it's really easy to fix, to build a phony wall over here and make this just all dead space, but it's not quite 100%.
Well, you know, this thing was...
And that's not...
You know, I want to say it's
Don't
not
worry about it.
intentional, but I think I need to look at... This is built in Revit, so it may have... So it's three-dimensional. So maybe there's...
Don't worry about it. It's something that can be easily fixed. You didn't intentionally do it.
I just want to see if...
I don't think it was intentional. I think it was
8-7.
Yeah.
There's plenty of space here.
We can...
Well, it's more on the roof plan.
I don't think that's intentional.
Because here's your 8-7 again.
I just thought maybe there's something inside that was driving that. It's something that just needs to get corrected.
Just this thing needs to slide over.
Yeah.
But, all right, that was my...
Good eye.
I'm cursed with it some days.
I've been looking at this too long.
All right. Any other questions or comments for the applicant about this project?
Any minor comments on the site walls?
We'll go to the landscape sheet.
Or site plan?
Site plan?
Actually,
You've got these nice arcing walls at various points along the project. The original design on this stairwell I liked a lot more. Maybe we could incorporate some arcs into it, or maybe just radius it off on the edges just to soften that. Same here, these walls seem a little engineered, so to speak. Maybe just incorporate some arcs. I think if we could fur that out
And still keep our square stair for ease of construction, might be able to soften it in.
like you're doing here, sort of.
Yeah.
Or
and do more of a rounded corner is what you're looking at.
I have a comment. Is your roof right here? Because I noticed you don't have it.
Would you mind pointing on the one that the TV camera picks up on?
Can I get your microphone?
Okay, this little roof element right here, I don't think it's matching on the other side. Yeah, on the other side, you don't have it.
We do have it on both sides.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, I saw
Verbally,
it.
he said it. I don't know if we saw
It
it.
shows up in the roof plan, and one of the elevations kind of obscures it. From the other side, you can kind of see the corner of it from the elevations. The roof plan mainly shows it clearly there.
okay, good.
You can, this view here, this roof element kind of obscures part of it, but you can see, I think we've got it here in the, you can see it kind of peeking over there. It needs to, we felt it needs to happen on both sides.
It does.
Okay, I thought I saw it on elevation. It wasn't. Okay.
Yeah. It was actually one of my favorite details. I don't know where it went.
Cool.
It's back.
Got lost in Revit.
Yeah, got lost in Revit.
So, is there any other comments?
Mr. Chair. I think from the previous meeting, I think that the design has regained the essence of the sketch, which effectively is what we asked the applicant to study. So I feel very positive. A lot of the key elements that were missing are back, and I feel very positive about the project.
Do you want to roll that into a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for preliminary approval, making MPO findings for neighborhood compatibility, bulk mass scale, quality, design, and materials. And for the applicant to come back to consent for final. And I don't know how many weeks you'll need.
Indefinite. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Miller. Under discussion, can we add a couple of points? One of them is to study adding curves or radius to the stairs and site walls. And number 2 is study the tower alignment. And number 3 is to provide cut sheets for the exterior light fixtures.
Okay.
Okay, and it's to return for final on consent.
Mr. Chair, under discussion. So the first go-round, we approved the colors, and is that correct?
I want to say we did, or they'll be re-reviewed at final on consent.
Yeah. Can we find out if we...
Do we have a color board on file?
Oh, yeah.
Usually they don't go too wrong with these kinds of Spanish houses in town, unless they do like pink and purple and blue.
Sometimes pink
It's all
works.
pink.
Pink works sometimes.
And then, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Would we have already looked at, in the landscaping, all the different materials and the hardscape and the permeable and all of that too?
If it's not at this level, we would definitely look at it at final on consent. Okay.
Anthony, do you have a copy of that in the binder? The color board? It's good on one.
There it is.
There it is. Yay!
The elusive color board.
Actually, and there's the...
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussions on the motion before we take a vote? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I will announce that there is a 10-day appeal period on this action. You guys have a great project.
Thank you.
Have
We're
fun.
excited.
We're up next, too.
We can't.
Alrighty.
Can we keep one of the copies of the sets, Tony?
You can keep 2 of them.
Great.
We're moving on to the next item, which is item 6. We're starting at 5 minutes early, which is fine for us. It is 1411 Jesucita Lane. It is a proposal for a 901 square foot one-story addition and a 385 square foot trellis for an existing 3,275 square foot single-family residence with a 595 square foot attached 3-car garage. The proposed total of 4,771 square feet is located on a 3.2 acre in the Hillside Design District. This is a new item for us. Is her mic on too? Okay, if you can announce yourself for the record.
I'm Stephen Robeck, one of the owners.
Clay Arell, architect.
Josh Bloomer, maybe Design Studio. And
Susan Robeck, owner.
Okay.
Tony, do you have the... Okay, good. Let me just orient you quickly on where we're at. Jesucita Lane. I can't read that, I'm sorry. But... play it out here. This helps. Jesucita Lane's here. It's kind of up off What's the main road?
Upper San Roque.
Upper San Roques.
That's
There's
right.
one ridge
The,
over.
the Sheffield
The
Reservoir.
reservoir's here.
The Laurel Reservoir.
Laurel Reservoir.
Laurel Reservoir?
The,
Okay.
The project that's been coming before AVR recently with
Is this the,
the water treatment plant
oh, yeah.
down the street. So this comes up, and then there's Hesacita Lane actually peels off, and there's a few homes up here. This aerial view shows our project, the Robeck's home, and then there's a neighboring house here, and there's a couple here. We have other photos we can show you. This area was in the path of the fire, interestingly enough, and the Robeck's home was minorly touched, which was nice. And they've done a lot of zero-scape landscaping on the site. The fire department camped out here during the fire, and it's been touted as an exemplary way to do their landscaping. I'll just show you a couple things quickly. I'm not sure what photos we have in this one. This is looking at the house from Hesacita Lane.
We can keep all the photos in one spot, and the TV camera will just zoom in on them.
I'm just going to kind of lay that out.
Actually, okay.
This is the uphill neighbor going up the ridge. Here's the garage, edge of the garage. Here's the existing 3-car garage. There's the entry points right over here. This is the rest of the house as it's heading south. There's another view, which we pretty much don't need. Here's looking at the property from across the ridge. Across the valley, or the gully. And you can see here's our property here. Here's the neighbors. So these homes all kind of sit on the ridgeline here. It slopes down this way and down that way. Here's our project. Here's the neighbors and the neighbors here. We have a few other views. This shot here is actually the backyard where we're proposing our addition.
Okay.
As you can see, there's a lot of gravel, part of the xeriscape. There's an area over here that's flat, and that's where we're proposing our new master suite addition. A couple other photos. Yeah, here's another photo looking from behind the existing garage, looking out. So here's the ridge, next ridge over. There's this nice flat area where we're going to put the new addition. Just in terms of context, here's a neighbor a couple houses up. Fairly large with an understory that's been utilized. Here's another example here of a neighboring house, 2-story with an understory that's been converted and used. Here's a single-story home there. There's sort of another shot of the ridge line.
I think we got a good understanding.
There's nothing down in the gully there either.
Okay.
So we'll just kind of jump in. This house was added on, or remodeled,
About 5 years.
About 5 years ago. And after living in here, as you know, you've kind of lived with the house, and then for a while, then you think, well, we might want to change how we're living. And the master suite is here today, and it's really not conducive to their style of living. So we're adding a new master wing to the site over here. Single story, same roof line, same roof pitches, similar windows, and then we're bringing the living room out a little bit and adding a trellis to shade the patio. All the views are this way to the ocean, and they're amazing. Sunsets this way, sunrises up there. So this actually allows them to get both.
Is it okay if I add a quick comment?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, just that when we did the renovation 5 years ago, we actually had preliminary approval to put a second story in this part of the house. And we decided not to do that for cost reasons and so forth. So we want to accomplish the same end, but in a lesser impact way.
Okay.
And so here's the floor plan. I'll just run you through quickly. Nothing's changing in this area. The existing living room is here, which we're expanding. And this is where the new master suite is going to be, off of the family room where the kitchen is. And then this is the area where the trellis is, and all the views are that way, and the sites start sloping down out here. So this is all flat in this area. larger floor plan view. Has just a bunch of information related to that. The house today is plaster and has a concealed gutter, has a red tile roof. Our addition will do the same. It's like we're missing something.
Yeah.
The other two elevations, but we understand if you're matching the existing.
Where's the
The good old stick set.
Yeah,
why we bring
more graphics up in this.
We rarely make mistakes.
Somebody.
401. There you go.
Excuse me. Let me orient myself here. So this is looking out to the canyon. This is the new suite addition over here. We're keeping the same eave lines. We're doing the same roof pitch. It's pretty straightforward. This is the connection between the two. Pass it along. This is the side view looking uphill, but we kept it one story so we don't have any view issues from neighbors. Street view. Here's the garage with the new addition tucked in the back. This is an existing site wall that we're not changing. This is the south view. So here's where the living room is coming out. Here's the. Is that right? This is
the canyon over here.
The canyon that way.
This master's right there.
This is the existing family room. That's the addition.
Good.
And these are just some other perspectives that kind of show the project.
Why don't you leave this sheet open? I think that's a good presentation.
Thank you.
So with that, I will open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the board on this item? Seeing nobody, I'll go to staff. Are there any letters?
We have a letter in support from JJ and Barbara Jennings that we emailed to you last week.
Okay.
And that's the only letter we have.
Thank you. With that, I will close public comment, return it back to the board for questions of the applicant.
I have a question.
Go for it. Turn on your mic first.
The new guy.
The advantage you wanted to have it separated like this with a little hallway connection, what was the reasoning?
Purpose of that?
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense to stick it right up against here. We want to use this sort of as a library.
Especially looking at the site too.
You need to be on microphone. Sorry about that.
Oh, you get the.
There's a really optimal location on the site here. It's very flat. And it doesn't require a lot of further kind of grading to make it work. So that's first and foremost why we chose this area. I think looking at the roof lines and trying to kind of reduce the massing that would be required and combining two, we felt like it's almost there's a picture in the drawings or in the photographs we had out here of this little statue in the middle of that courtyard, and it's kind of like a little pagoda. I don't know where it is. It kind of taken that up a bit in scale, but it gave us. We kind of studied it in different ways and kind of pushing it up against the building or combining it with the existing roof line. What we noticed is when we separated it, it had a much more low impact on the overall massing of the roof line. Especially to you got the letter from the uphill neighbor where their property sits above that and looks across it. I think it's a sweeter little addition than it would be otherwise.
If I might add a little something, Brian, there's an existing home gym that they work out in, and there's this sort of nice little garden patio out here.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that we were always looking at is how to maintain the visual through there.
And the kitchen window, which is
and to actually create an outdoor space that would be nice and appropriate. So.
Okay,
great, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Aaron.
Walls around the new oak tree existing, or are those new?
There's actually an existing retaining wall there. It has a fire pit. It's really not doing the job. And I think the client's desire, or the owners want to have something a little bit more shading and a little more focal.
Are you going to put a specimen oak there, or Small
A small one.
Small one.
Well, you know, it's affordability, right?
Okay. If there are no other questions, we can go straight into comments.
Chair, I'm looking at the project and going, the only reason why you're here is because it's hillside. It's one story. It's below 17 feet. It matches existing. It's a well-designed project. So, other than general comments on maybe some landscape or minor things, I don't see any issues at all.
I'll concur with that. Mr. Miller agrees. Any other comments? If not, how about a motion? You want to make a motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion for preliminary approval, making NPO findings for neighborhood compatibility. Bulk, mass, and scale is very appropriate, single story. The detail matches up, perfectly with what's there. It's a very simple design, but well thought out with the outdoor spaces. And I'd like to have the applicant return to consent with the colors are matching existing, but some of the detailing around the trellises and windows and any additional exterior details, lighting, that sort of thing.
Great. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Bernie. Is there any other discussion? I would just add one that you need to bring a color board because they like to have a record of what the colors are. So for the final. So with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you all very much.
That was indefinite back to consent.
Indefinite back to consent for final. And I'll announce a 10-day appeal period for this project. And our next project starts at 5:45, and I will start at 5 minutes early, so I'm going to take a 10-minute recess. Can you put that by Tony's area? In about 1 minute, just get all the papers all situated. I'm going to reopen the single for Tuesday, July 6th. We are on item 7, which is 1607 Shoreline Drive, and I want to make an announcement that item 8, which is 1233 Mission Ridge Road, has been postponed 2 weeks. The applicant called the city, and so we're not. This is the last item of tonight's hearing.
1233.
The next one, which is 1233 Mission Ridge Road, has been postponed. And we are on item 7, which is 1607 Shoreline Drive. It's the first time we've heard this project, so I will read the project description. This proposal is for additions and alterations to an existing 3,034 square foot, 2-story single-family residence with an attached 2-car garage. The project includes 549 square feet first floor addition, 1,281 square foot second floor addition, the demolition of 405 square feet of the floor area, and 2 existing decks totaling 431 square feet. A new 150 square foot second floor deck and a new 826 square foot flat roof deck. Also proposed is to remodel 2,455 square feet of the interior floor area, an exterior stairwell, rooftop fireplace, pergola, and approval of an as-built fountain in the backyard, alterations to the landscape plan, and alterations to an existing stucco wall in the front property line not to exceed 42 inches. The total development on the site will be 4,459 square feet, which is 96% of the maximum guideline floor-to-lot area ratio. Planning Commission approval is requested for a coastal development permit in the appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. This is comments only. So if I can have your name for the record, let's get these mics on.
I'm James Zimmerman, architect for Chad Yonker. He wanted to be here tonight, but he wasn't able to make it.
Okay.
He's on business back east. So, what we have is an existing.
I'll take that.
An existing two-story house, which that is the view from Shoreline Drive. And the adjacent house is two-story. The house to the west is two-story. This is the existing house. And then coming down, we got a one-story vacant lot. And there's another two-story here, but you can't really see that from the street. I do want to apologize for the sign. I met with the gardener and I told him to bolt that to the front of the wall. So he ended up putting it up on the lawn. So, yeah.
Okay.
So we have, it's 14th on the FAR for the closest 20 homes.
So this is lots ranked by floor area ratio, and it's
Yes.
14th.
Right.
And it is .22, and there's some that are at .58.
Right.
Do you have the sheet that also rates the house at 20 closest by square footage?
Yeah, I have, well, the square footage is on here.
There's also a way of tabulating it and puts the highest square footage first. Right now, this one did the highest FAR first, so there's two charts on that Excel sheet. Let me see if it's in here.
Yeah.
But these are all the owners. That doesn't help us. Wait 1 second. There's one for 5,000 square feet.
That's this. Okay, no, that.
This is at 1547 Shoreline. Okay. And then the next largest is 43 and a 42, and you're a 44. So you're definitely a second largest, and then there's a third and a fourth that are very similar. Do you have a photograph of 1547 Shoreline Drive?
Those are the two stories right across the street.
Okay. Great. Let me just see. Well, let's see where is 1547 Shoreline? That would be this one.
Right.
So that's this house that you can't see from the street.
Right.
Okay. And that's the largest at 5,000 square feet. Okay. I think we got an understanding. Okay, let's go look at the architecture. Or actually, let's look at the silhouette real fast. Across, do you want to talk about this real fast?
Yeah, this is the this is our new design. This is the two-story adjacent, and then we have one stories down on the same side of the street.
Okay.
So this is the two-story to the west of the which is that.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, what I propose is a Spanish Revival design using curved walls, mission tile roof, and in the area here we're adding a second floor over the existing garage, and actually having a curved wall come around, and this is actually recessed back 5 feet.
Curved in plan or in elevation?
Yeah, curved in elevation.
Okay.
And then we're using that as a planter, and then the plants will kind of climb along the top of the wall, which I think would be very attractive. There is a balcony off the bedroom here, so the wall comes up to a little higher elevation, which is the guardrail requirement, and then it curves down again. We are putting in a two-car garage instead of the one-car. This, small balconies with awnings, and I think it'd be very attractive. The Spanish Revival, you can do so many things with it. This is the existing house, and this is Shoreline Drive, and our setback is 20 feet, but the existing garage is 30 feet, and then as we come up here, we got 34 to 35 foot, and we're maintaining a lot of that setback. We're only building a couple feet out in the front. So the house is still set back beyond the setback from the street.
Okay.
Well, this is the bluff. This is the bluff in the ocean here. We've gone through a geological report, and we're able to add just a few feet off the back, and that would meet our 75-year setback, erosion setback. This is the existing house, a two-story here. In the rear elevation, we have a full two-story almost coming across with a recessed balcony here. And here's the balcony at this point.
Okay.
So what we're proposing is building the garage out about 3 feet, so we still maintain almost 27-foot setback from the edge of the sidewalk. We're building out here about 3 feet in the front and still maintaining almost a 30-foot setback at that point. There's a 6-foot setback here. We're recessing the second floor back so that with that planting area on the second floor running around, you actually have a 10-foot setback in some places from the 6-foot setback here. On this side, the house is at 11 feet, and we're maintaining that 11-foot setback on the first floor.
Okay.
So you can see here, coming up the driveway, we have the existing garage here, and we're just pushing out 3 feet, so we still have 27 feet on the front portion. This portion over here, we're over 30 feet setback from the street. And you're coming into a gallery and entering the great room, which is this portion here. You come up the stairwell up to the second floor, and there's a balcony coming across which looks down into the great room. So that's the great room has a high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And then you continue up the stairs to the roof deck, which has a fireplace with a 5-foot high privacy wall from the neighbors, and the only portion that's open is to the view this way.
Okay.
So the front elevation, which, like I say, you can add so many things on the Spanish Revival, so many details that are really interesting. Taking the side and curving a plaster wall down with an iron wrought grill, using an iron wrought balcony with the small French doors, and then going in some places going with a small window with an iron wrought grill. Then if when we come around to the west side, this is that one bedroom over the garage, and that's recessed back from the 6-foot setback about 4 feet. And this is that parapet wall that runs around, and then we're using that as a planter so that we'll have nice vines and growth growing over that wall at this point, being that that's at a 6-foot setback. This is recessed back about 10 feet. This is the stairwell going up to the roof deck. We have a couple small windows. I was thinking about incorporating maybe a little balcony as you go up the stairs, which adds some interest. And then this is the pergola or trellis over the roof deck. And then this is the privacy wall that gives the neighbors privacy from the roof deck. I'd like to show you, I've changed something, I've changed this portion right here.
Okay.
I didn't like the way it curved around.
Just one real fast, just that one.
Okay. So instead of curving this around and popping a curve out, I just squared it off with a recessed balcony.
Okay. How does that look on elevation?
The elevation, I put a tile roof on it.
Okay.
So I have just a simple tile roof on it. Okay. And then on the east side, I just have a tile roof continuing across. So I think that simplifies that design there.
Good. Thank you. I'll put these off to the side. Good presentation. Anything else in particular to touch upon?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I will open up public comment. I have 2 speaker slips. You come on up here to the first speaker. Dotson is the last name. Grace, maybe? Oh, hallelujah. And then Kip, fullback. And you'll be second.
Okay. I'm Grace Dotson. I live at 1611 Shoreline, which is next door. And this seems kind of awkward.
It's
having
fine.
been on your panel, and now he's your architect. So I'm sure it's a beautiful design. And I do have some concerns. I'm the neighbor next door. And we're the ones on the west side. So what we're looking at would be
It's actually
whatever.
this house
was
right here.
Kind of the first time I've seen a really big drawing. So we did look at them at the city, but they were kind of sketchy, and I'm not sure. So we're on the west side. Is this us?
If you look on the TV
West side,
screen,
Yeah. Okay. This is our.
This is the proposed house.
we actually know where you're at because you're at. Look,
Okay.
you're immediately.
I meant the view of the proposed property. This would be our view.
Oh,
of
the view that you look at,
yeah,
correct.
That's what I was talking about. And so, from our point of view, the second story, the building has been elongated, and it's been popped out, and it's higher. And Mr. Zimmerman talked about the roof deck, which has a 5-foot wall with a pergola, and that looks like to us a third story. So when we're looking at it from our point of view, not only the wall is 5 feet, but when you add the trellis on top of that, it's even taller. And then the stairwell, we couldn't quite figure out whether that's exposed, whether we can actually see the stairwell, or
We'll ask that question. We'll figure that out.
Okay. So the house is bigger and wider and the taller, and our concern is the look of the 3-story building. the little balcony on the side, Mr. Zimmerman just told me there's, on our side, there's a little balcony, and that balcony actually looks into a bedroom window.
Oh.
And he said that they're just going to make it a window because both of us lose privacy. We're looking into each other. And then the rooftop deck seems horrendous. It seems huge to us, with the little stairwell going up. So to us, it looks like a third story with actually a roof on it. So those are my concerns about the building. By the way, I think it looks very beautiful, but having to kind of feel that cannon effect between the houses, which would have less sunlight into quite a few of our rooms downstairs. Then our last concern would be the landscaping plan, which we didn't see. Is there one?
At the very first scheme, we really don't require it. Eventually, we'll get a landscape.
Okay.
So
Well, my concern was that it's a very delicate bluff, and the owner actually is using this as a vacation home, and the landscaping started actually 2 months ago, and most of everything is removed from the backyard. And the other day I was looking out the window and I saw a man and a woman and 2 children throwing yard debris over the cliff. So I was very concerned, and that's when I discovered the person in charge was Mr. Zimmerman, and he was nice enough to come over and tell him to stop. Don't do anything more.
we need to wrap it up.
The cliff is very delicate, and we're locked into it. Whatever happens with one neighbor, it's a domino effect. And one of our neighbors actually lost about 1/3 of his yard because he had a leaky sprinkler. So I was very concerned about that, and I'm still concerned. So those are my 2 concerns, kind of the height of the building, our cannon effect, and then the domino effect of that delicate hillside. I happened to take a picture when I went over to ask what the plan was, and the man doing the yard said that he actually was going to put all of this stuff down the hillside, so that's when I got very concerned.
Can we actually put that here so the TV camera can pick it up? So,
And that's when Mr. Zimmerman came by and said, "Stop!
Yeah.
Don't go forward."
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you for following the project. And the next speaker is going to be Kip Fullback.
Good evening.
Hello.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, distinguished board members. My name is Kip Fullbeck. I'm a professor of art at the university, and I own and live in a home directly northwest of the property we're discussing. I live on Santa Rosa Avenue.
Okay.
Aside from the fact that this proposed addition will be affecting my ocean view, which I'm certainly concerned about, I actually wanted to speak about maintaining the community character of the area, because we simply saw Mr. Zimmerman showed the silhouettes of the way it's looking on Shoreline Drive. If we take the houses on the ocean side of Shoreline, aside from the last speakers and the property in question, the next 7 homes to the west are single-story, single-family units. And this area of the Mesa is really one of the jewels of Santa Barbara. This is part of our scenic drive. This is where we have night moves. There's a reason I chose this area to purchase a home and raise my family. It's because it doesn't have the kind of construction one might find in a Malibu or someplace where you have extremely large silhouettes. And that's my main concern here. This home in question already has unlimited views. It will always have unlimited views. And I think if the board chooses to approve this as is, it sets a very dangerous precedent for letting us keep the integrity of this community and the character of the neighborhood. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming. Yes. And both of you will be getting these, next time this comes to the board, you'll be mailed a notice. So, any other speakers? Seeing nobody, are there any other public letters?
Yes, well, we got the letter from Eric Fricker and Grace Dodson that we passed along to you last week.
What's
we
their
also
street
have
address? What's their street address?
1611 Shoreline. Grace just spoke.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
We also got a letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Thank you. All right, I'll return it to the board for questions of the applicant.
Jim, have you studied a section sort of this way through the property? And floor plan, I don't know who drew that, but...
It's the view of the ocean.
Okay, that's kind of the section I was hoping to find and see what that really looked like. I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Then the other question maybe is a staff question. Tony, in a side yard setback, if there's a piece of wall adjacent to abutting the house, is that able to get over 6 or 8 feet tall?
Yeah, it can be 8 feet.
Yeah, a wall can be located in the setback up to 8 feet
8
tall,
feet.
unless it's in the front.
Okay. So, I mean, right now it's drawn a little bit higher than that, but okay.
I have a question. The actual design character, this Mission Revival, was that generated from the client, or is that something that you've been thinking about and chasing as an idea?
My client has studied Spanish Revival, and he likes the detailing and the different things that you can do with walls and iron wrought. And I think that, I think it's a very special design, and not having long tile roofs or long roof areas. This is the line of the existing roof, which we're lower than that. You don't see it there, but it's up here. That's standing on the street.
Okay, thank you.
And so we've kept that whole center portion low, and we've kept the width of the different rooms fairly narrow, so that the 4 to 12 doesn't get very high.
Okay. Thank you.
So
I have a question for staff. When a project is over 85%, but it's a guideline, do they need to stay at 25-foot height limit? Okay. So just to point out for the board's purpose, the height of this tower is 29 feet, and because the FAR is a guideline for this lot size, he's not required to stay at under 25 feet.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just to point out to the board, though, that this is a deceptive guideline because the lot, it counts all the way down to the ocean, and in fact the actual allowable buildable area stops, so we don't want to be fooled or misled by this.
Yes, no, that's a valid point. Okay.
I have some comments.
We can, before that, are there any more questions?
Yeah.
And then you get the first comment.
Did you study floor plan without the stair tower, getting up there some other way?
well, what I could do is I could lower the stair tower by a full story, and what I could do is I could enter on a balcony and then go up outside stairs. So this whole front portion could be eliminated.
Okay.
That's really the only portion that we got 29 feet. Everything else is 21 to 22.
You want to approximate what the grade or the height would be to the top of the trellis? Because if this is 17 feet plus a 5-foot screening wall makes this top of wall at 22-ish. So right here, the top of the trellis is really going to be 8 or 9 feet above 17, which makes it 26-ish, 27.
Yeah. It's around 27.
So 27 feet.
To the trellis?
Yeah, to the trellis area.
It's 26.
Okay. Good. If there's no more questions, let's go to comments. Mr. Miller, you're out.
I'd have to say, just from observing this, that the mass, bulk, and scale isn't really compatible to the neighborhood. It looks too large. Also, I feel that the Spanish colonial style is a very simple style. It's a forgiving style. and I think there's too many elements in it, and it's too busy, I think. It's got too much introduced into it, and I think a more simpler style would be a little, because when I look at the other homes, they're very, they're 60s, very simple roof lines. They're. I just feel that this is a little too busy for this neighborhood.
Okay. Comments from another board member?
Mr. Chair?
Bernie.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I think as a board we'll want to discuss whether we feel that this style of architecture can be tweaked enough and simplified enough to make it compatible with the neighborhood. But in addition, it's aggressive. The roof deck does create a third-story element. It's way too big. It's way out of scale. And this needs to be really scaled down a lot to be compatible with the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Glenn?
My initial response was there's a playfulness here, and that was appreciated. I think it went a little too far on the sides, and we got to these areas in here, and I know you're proposing some changes there anyway. So I'm okay with the style. I just think it went a little too far. I think Aaron brought up the subject about the stair tower, and that was one of the other items that kind of poked at me really quickly, and I was trying to figure out a way of eliminating the tower and entering from an exposed condition. So I would say that would be something that I would like to see in the next go round. And then there's some just general issues between the sketches and elevation and plans where there's a lot of inconsistencies of no windows, and I'm not sure where this overhang piece is that I'm seeing. This area in here, I'm not sure how it works, unless these areas, this fireplace steps and plan.
Yeah, the balcony. I mean, the roof deck actually cantilevers out 3 feet.
Okay.
And that's.
But there's there's windows shown in elevation that are not in plan, and that's why I was asking about the section as well, because I think that'll help resolve some of those coordination issues. Okay. But in general, I think it is aggressive, and I think it is feeling too big. And I think the simpler you make it, maybe the better it'll feel as well.
Before we ask Aaron for comments, I just forgot there was something about an as-built fountain that you're getting a permit for. Approval of an as-built brick fountain in the backyard. Is that? Can you just quickly go over that, and then, because I didn't get that earlier.
That's right here.
Okay. And how tall is it?
It's level with the grade.
Okay.
Well, it's up actually about 18 inches. Yeah, it's up 18 inches.
Okay.
And it's about 3 feet deep.
All right. Let me pass this photograph down to Aaron. Okay. Cool. Do you have any comments?
Concur with board members thus far. We didn't talk about the color of the building. Is it really pinkish color?
No, I think it's more of a mauve. It'd be more of a mauve color that won't be, highlighted. There's a house right next door that's a bright orange. It would be a very subdued color.
Sort of a peach.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the alternate sketch. I think I prefer the simplicity of that over what is shown on these drawings. I think there needs to be just some more one-story elements to this building. It's very, very boxy as proposed.
Okay. I won't be as kind as other people, but I'll be gentle. I don't see it. It's not here. And it's just what people have been saying. It's way too busy. The style of architecture does not match Shoreline Drive. Significantly redesign, restudy, rethink of what your approaches are. And it's a very broad statement, but if I start telling you 15 little tiny things and you change those 15 little things, the whole thing kind of, in my estimation, needs to be restudied or reevaluated. One thing that would be good when you do your elevation is just show the profile of the old house. This is what you were doing here to sort of show, but I can, and then your existing house is really close. Be nice to see where this property line is and where this property line is, and you filled in this space right here, and because you moved part of your second story over, and that had been somebody's view way up here. So I want to evaluate and understand that this came over here and what was the benefit to you and what's the benefit of the architecture to the neighborhood, because right now this structure does not belong in the neighborhood compatibility wise. Too busy, a lot of things happening. This story and a half here, and then this 5-foot wall and the trellis, and I don't know if it's 8 feet away from the property line or something.
It's about 11 feet.
11 feet. It's just way too massive, way too strong, way too domineering. It's not working for me, and all I can say is if this element is really important to have a 17-foot plate here, a really tall ceiling in this great room area, then this needs to slide over and have a softer story. Because what Aaron was saying is the one-story element is missing. And what's neat about these older houses is even though this is 30 feet back and this is 40 feet back, the fact is that the house steps backwards, steps back, and you have a soft one-story element. Here, this is all 2 stories right up in front. There's a little bit here with the landscaping, but there's just not enough modulation happening. It's a very Alamo boxy block building. For the next design, I would encourage you to show your 2 property lines on the side, and then on the floor plans to actually show where the property lines happen here, so that we can start sensing what the relationship between this wall and here. But I'm having difficulty with this project.
Okay.
So we need to have a motion to move the applicant forward.
I'll try a motion, Mr. Chair.
Bernie?
All right. Well, we would like to give the applicant a 4-week continuance.
Let's leave it indefinite at this time.
An indefinite continuance in order to consult with your client and let them understand why these guidelines are in place and what they are, and return to the full board with basically a smaller and a new design. That's my motion.
I would like to come back in 2 weeks. I think
if that would work for you, I wouldn't want to put pressure on you. That's the
no,
only
I'd
thing.
like to come back in 2 weeks.
If that's all right with you.
All right, thank you. I'd like to address the applicant, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. I really think it's important when people come from out of Santa Barbara into Santa Barbara, they really need to be educated about that certain things in this community may be quite a bit different from where they have been before, and it's up to us to promote these kind of guidelines, because this is what the neighbors vote. This was a big thing to put all this stuff together for us.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Are there any suggestions to the motion that would make it secondable?
Can the motion be respoken?
You may re-speak it, restate it for yourself. Yes.
I move that the applicant come back in 2 weeks with a new design that is more compatible to the neighborhood, more consistent with the guidelines that are set forth by the city.
Your microphone.
Should I repeat myself?
No.
Okay.
How about reducing the size, bulk, and scale?
And to reduce the size, bulk, and scale to reflect the existing structures that are in the neighborhood. And more compatible.
All right. So do you want to be firster of that one? And she'll be the seconder? I'm looking at you, that motion.
I make that motion.
You make the motion?
All right, and I'll second it. And Gloria, would you mind just reading it back to us, please?
Thank you.
Continue 2 weeks to the full board with the following comments. redesigned to be more compatible with the neighborhood and consistent with the design guidelines of the city. Redesign the size, bulk, and scale to reflect existing structures in the neighborhood.
Okay. And then can we add it, if it's okay with the people who are making the motion, to study pulling away the upper level deck from the side property line? And I want to use the word significantly pull away, but I don't want to be too aggressive in my verbiage. Is that okay? For the person who made the motion, to add a comment in there about reduce the size of the upper level roof deck.
Yeah, we had to reduce the size of the upper level roof deck with the possibility even eliminating it.
Okay. Any other comments from board members?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to give the applicant maybe clearer direction. The one thing that we didn't necessarily say is a new design. What about the style? Because you mentioned the style maybe not being appropriate to the...
Okay.
So I just didn't know if we could have a straw vote that the style would even work in the neighborhood, or should Jim look at a different style?
Let's have a discussion about it first. I would say that a watered-down style of this type would work because there are some other Spanishy buildings. That's not the problem. It's just that this is way too busy with too many little tiny things happening to distracting it, and it also seems to be boxy, and it doesn't have... We hate the wedding cake look, but you know what? The wedding cake look actually has more pleasant forms. So I think the style can work with some enhancement. You believe so? Any other comments? Okay. So we won't put that in the motion, but you understand where we're coming from? Okay. Any other discussion about the motion? Thanks for mentioning that. All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And I will be, that's all for tonight, Tuesday, July 6th. Thank you very much.